Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 24th of August, 2014. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp. And Zachary Burgess.
Joining us today, a bee.
Was that a bee sound or more of a kind of other kind of?
I was just resonating still from the intro.
But you had some kind of sympathetic resonance that caused it to gain amplitude after it had faded.
Oh, it could have been just like a tuning fork. I just moved it closer to the mic. Like inside, I'm constantly resonating. It just depends how close I am to a source of checkpoints.
To a source of checkpoints.
Wow, you hit a checkpoint. Awesome. Now, when this podcast dies, we can start from that point.
We're good.
Well, maybe it's just a bee that's carrying a tuning fork closer to the mic.
Again, would a bee? Oh, could a bee be in real trouble though if they're holding a tuning fork that's resonant with their wing or like something, and then they're flying carrying this thing, and then the tuning fork starts vibrating? It'll really off-put their flight.
Do you think?
Whoa. Oh, it's like, all right, I'm gonna have to slow down. I can't have my normal speed, guys. So
Maybe if you had the correct, because a tuning fork would give you a concert pitch A, right? Does it give you an A? Like 1440 hertz?
I think you can get like forks of whatever you want, can't you?
Oh, can you? Well, maybe the bee just needs to find the fork that is the right frequency for optimum flight, and then it can tune its own wing speed.
I get
to the fork.
Literally.
Tuned itself using the tuning fork. I mean, that's what they're for, right?
No, they're not for bee like tuning.
Why? Well, that may be a secondary application.
Yeah, maybe that's if you're right about them always being in concert A or something, then a bee is in trouble.
That's true.
And also a bee. Speaking of forks, segue.
Oh yeah,
segue.
Convenient.
Do you see my noodle fork?
You already made the tuning fork joke last time, so that's a good segue.
I think
yeah, you did,
okay.
Zach. You said it. You said a fork tuner first, and then.
Oh right, yeah.
And then you ought to say tuning fork. So
fork tuner.
Okay, and then Rob can make a different dumb joke.
So yeah, video content, is that right?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Is this on the site yet? We need to put it up.
No, it's on YouTube, but I haven't posted a link on the salad yet. Yeah, it's me attempting to eat a pot noodle with the pot noodle spinning fork. It's not very successful.
No, also the video.
Well, yeah, the video itself isn't very successful because for some reason the audio recorded kind of badly, but you can see the effect of the spinning fork quite well.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
No.
I haven't actually tried using it as a regular fork, and maybe it's okay.
I'm sure it works as a fork. It's a fork.
I know, but it's slightly different. It's got I don't know if you saw it. It's got those like wavy prongs, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I doubt
do the wavy prongs get in the way of like regular noodle eating?
I doubt it.
It looks a bit awkward just because it's got such a fat handle. It would be quite hard to use.
Yeah, it'd be like what the sort of cutlery that they always give to kids, right? And they're like thinking that kids will find this easier because it's got a big handle they can put their podgy fingers around.
Right.
And it's like, no, it just makes it harder. It always has made it harder. I don't understand.
You definitely. I mean, my favourite moment was when you were trying to counter the spin by spinning it with your hand in order to get it into your mouth. I don't understand why the button.
To try various techniques.
Yeah, it's like the whole point of the spinning fork is you don't have to spin the handle yourself because it does it for you, and then you end up having to do it in opposite direction
because you can't leave it spinning whilst eating.
No, I mean that seems like a bad idea.
Stop it easily enough, but you see, like the first couple of times, I couldn't help but move my head in an attempt to keep up with it.
Yeah, I saw you slowly rotating your head. You try to eat the noodles off the fork.
There's a couple of horrible moments where I didn't react to them, but just like listening to it, it sounds so much worse. Where you can hear the fork bounce off my teeth, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Someone like biting your cutlery.
I don't understand why. Is the button like a latch? Obviously, it latches. It's an on-off switch, right?
Well, it's like a little red press on, press off thing.
Yeah. Oh, you click on and click off. Because it'd make more sense to me if it was a momentary switch that you just held down to spin and released to stop. That would make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Maybe you are correct.
But then you couldn't use it as a ridiculous mantelpiece thing, fork monument thing.
Well, maybe if you're holding it, like you should press it, and that should trigger one full rotation of spin or something.
One rotation. But how do you know how much rotation? Yeah. How many? You don't.
But then you press it again for a second rotation.
Okay.
Or you hold it for your length of rotation, but when you release it, like centers itself.
That would be far too advanced.
Or it just keeps spinning until it returns to the starting point.
Yeah, okay.
So you hold it so the starting point is...
I wouldn't have it like so... Well, ideally, maybe you want it so it's like gyroscopically stable. So if you are doing what I did, spinning the fork like stupidly with your hand, it just like levels itself as you're approaching your mouth.
Gyroscopic, awesome.
But what if you want to do the backhand fork where you do it on the back, then you're fucked.
Well, yeah, but then you turn off the gyroscope. But then you can have
how do you do that?
Yeah.
You have to disable the gyroscope mechanism, obviously, for those situations. I think this fork needs a redesign.
Yeah, what about the noodle tea? How's that coming on?
Yeah, good question, Zach.
Not a good question.
Okay.
But the noodle tea idea is solid.
Yeah.
But I thought we decided an L would be better, like shape-wise, than a T.
Did we? Well, I suppose.
Let's try not to remember this whole conversation again.
Okay, fair enough.
Go back in time and listen to the Saladcast.
Cool. Well, check out that video.
Learn about the noodle tea.
So to transition to more random.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there wasn't any segue opportunities that time.
Yeah.
We had a segue into the old random, but now you're transitioning into new random.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't spot any opportunities.
Oh, there's a segue there.
Oh,
You
no.
said new random. And we're about to try some new Coke.
Oh, okay. That's Rob's segue.
Okay.
Rob's jacked my segue.
But your lack of segue,
Well, yeah.
I've made into something. Saved. So, yeah, Coke have released a new Coke, but it's not new Coke. It's just a new Coke. But it's a bit... I haven't yet sipped it. It's in a glass in front of me.
What do you mean? I'm totally lost. They made a new Coke in the 80s, right? And it was a disaster, right? And then they had to bring back old Coke. Like
It's not
old cloaked Coke.
It's not a new Coke as in they haven't replaced old Coke.
No, it's a new brand of Coke, if you see what I mean. It's like
It's a new flavour of Coke.
Yeah,
Which is called
It's
what?
not even a flavour. It's like, so they have Coke.
Well, you
they
don't
have
know
Coke.
that yet. You haven't tasted it.
They have Coke and they have Coke Zero. And presumably this is another attempt at fitting into that tastes like Coke but isn't as bad as Coke for you category. And it's called Coca-Cola Life.
Ooh.
So, from what I can gather, it's like half Coke. It's like, so if Coke Zero is like no calories and like no sugar and stuff like that, and normal Coke is like Coke 1. Because it's like,
This is Coke 0.5.
This is Coke 0.5 because it's like half calorie. But apparently they call it Life because they've used all natural sweeteners to...
Apart from
like
maybe
sugar.
the sweeteners.
Well, the sweet... Yeah, I don't know. It says all natural sweeteners, so maybe the sweetener can be naturally
Natural
obtained.
flavours.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, natural flavours.
So,
Okay.
And it's in a
So
horribly...
drink it then.
It's a horribly eco-green bottle.
It also seems to... The bubbles seem to persist, which is worrying.
Yeah, it's very frothy.
Oh, I hate that. Especially Pepsi Max has the frothy
Yeah.
bubbles. I hate that. It's horrible.
Yeah. It should be... I don't know. Coke to me is smooth.
Okay. Drink it.
It's a live drinking.
You know... Not very good.
Okay.
No. How is it, man?
Okay.
So it's not the best. It's like weak Coke. It's like Coke plus water.
Well, maybe that's what it is. Just watered down. It's 50%.
Yeah, it's 50%
It's
Coke.
literally 0.5 Coke. They put more
Doesn't really
water
taste
in.
much like Coke.
No, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
It doesn't even taste like McDonald's Coke, or it's closer to McDonald's Coke, I suspect.
What you mean?
You mean just general
Coke,
like
yeah.
general pump Coke?
Yeah, syrup Coke.
Yeah.
Tastes a bit closer to that.
It's a bit weird.
It depends what the strength they set on those syrup machines, though, doesn't it? Sometimes you get it weaker, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think I find that flavour slightly less offensive than Coke Zero in general. Coke Zero is, you can tell it's hella, just piles the sweetness away.
Yeah, true, but I think I prefer the filth.
Yeah, but it's the wrong kind of filth. It's like bad tasting filth.
Yeah.
Rather than bad for you filth.
This is like organic soiled paper. I don't know. It's just like, for some reason, the image I've got in my head when I say soiled paper is like they've taken Coke, they've poured it on a newspaper, and then they've wringed out the newspaper into my glass.
Okay.
Right, okay. You're totally selling me on this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or did they pour it on, like, Life magazine, maybe, and then wring it out? I don't know.
I don't think it would soak into a magazine.
No, it'd be too shiny. Well, I suppose they'd soak a little, don't they? Just
Yeah, a little, but not that much.
They get all wrinkly, don't they?
Depends. Like, if they soak too much, does the waxy coating of a magazine come off with you?
Maybe. Well, unless Coke just dissolves that.
Yeah. In which case, maybe I'm tasting the wax.
It's not very waxy.
No.
Man,
It's
I
just
kind
sort
of
of
don't
just sort
read
of a nothing
magazines at
version
all
of
anymore.
Coke. It's just not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold.
Well,
it was cheap,
you were
so,
sold.
you know.
It was you were sold Coke.
You were sold it.
Yeah, it's because it was cheap. It was like introductory price of super cheap.
Okay.
So it's like, I'll have some of that. See what it's like.
So what's the branding like? It's like, well, we're all going to know because
Well,
it's on
it's-
buses everywhere, but it's all green,
so it's,
right?
It's the red Coca-Cola bottle, like with the same,
So it's green.
except like eco green, but the kind of green that they would have like a bin made out of. You know,
It's not
Right.
white green.
the sort of green that some people might wear on ponchos on an archaeological dig. And sort of
That kind of green.
yeah.
Ponchos on, well, yeah, don't know. They're kind of
It's a bit-
sandy coloured, aren't
well, I'm just looking at things on my desk to sort of act as a reference point.
they? With like your poncho that you keep on your desk.
Yeah, but yeah. It's like a less saturated version of Specsavers green.
That's incredibly unhelpful.
What is it a similar green to the RGB green, like the base green on a screen?
No.
No, that's too green.
Oh, too green. Okay.
That's too green. You got to think a little more washed out, a little more
It's
like.
it's like a washed out version of the happy salad green.
I'm trying to think like if you had like a green tarp that you might be,
Yeah,
or the sort of green that
The
you
tent.
might cover a tent in.
Tent
Yeah.
colour.
Oh, okay. Okay. More kind of.
It's like
Tent colour.
I guess.
That's the only
Tenty green.
description we have.
Olive, like military green, maybe.
I don't know about
Like-
military. It's a bit pale for military.
Yeah, it's a bit too light for that. But
Anyway,
It's not hardcore enough.
yeah, kind of close. Kind of close.
So here's my new segue,
All right.
which is a really bad one.
Okay. Is it loose?
Speaking of words coming out of Rob's mouth,
Right.
because that's what he was just doing.
This is quite weak.
Yeah, couldn't really think of anything. Speaking of words coming out of Rob's mouth, this isn't actually related to anything Rob said, but it's Rob's going to spit new Coke all over the place.
It's not new Coke.
Speaking of
Coke.
Coke coming out of Rob's mouth,
How is this a segue in any sense of the word?
because it's about what we would probably call Robisms.
All right,
As in dumb things that Rob says, and then which have turned out to be totally wrong.
What have I said?
Well, that's why I say it's not to do with you. It's to do with someone else that I saw on the internet that I thought was funny,
Okay,
and,
right.
was pretty much the very definition of a Robism if it had been said by Rob.
No, surely the definition of a Robism is that it has been said by Rob.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing that we'd call a Robism if you'd said it.
Well, you could. Well, maybe you should just say the phrase to me, and if I think there's something wrong with it, then it's not.
Or
a
if you
Robism.
think that it's right, then we'll know.
Yeah, if I think that it's right, then it's a Robism.
You won't think this one's right, because I think this is too dumb even for your dumbness.
Okay. Cheers, by the way.
Yeah.
So flattering.
So the phrase that I saw someone use was, I don't know what fun they talk about, but this is just like a random comment where they said, "It's a doggy dog world."
Hey, no, that's an egg-corn. That's an egg-corn from the Adam and Joe show. That one,
Yeah, but-
Doggy Dog World. There's a whole list of them that misheard. What was it? Pot would call the kettle back.
Yeah, but that's just a Robism to us, basically.
Doggy dog.
I suppose.
Well, yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that you could see me getting wrong, like intensive purposes. And
Yeah,
all that
exactly.
shit.
But then
Yeah.
that one is just like, That one I was trying to think of, like, what the fuck does he think that phrase means? It's like, what does he just think it means? Like it's like Snoop Dogg or something?
Doggy dog world.
For shizzle.
I think one time they had two people write in with the same misheard, that they both misheard the same phrase in different ways. And it was their mum saying their room looked like a bomber's hit it, right? So they thought there was a phrase called a bombsy tit. Your room looks like a bombsy tit.
Like,
the other one was,
it's not really that close, is it?
and the other one was a bombazit. Well, as one word, a bombazit it. But it's a bomb has.
That's probably just Jesus
Bomb has hit it, isn't it? That's what it is. But bombsy tit, that was it. That was.
It's like a bombsy tit.
It's like a
bombs
tit in here.
hit it is how someone would have said it then.
Yeah,
that's
the phrase.
Hit it.
Yeah,
Not bomb has hit it. Looks like a bombsy tit. Might be. Is it some sort of northern accent?
Yeah, probably.
Might be easier to.
Yeah, maybe.
Misconstrue.
Anyway, that was a good one. But yeah, Doggy Dog World, it definitely is. There's no denying that. It's Doggy Dog World.
Why would dogs eat dogs?
Because it's
Where does that phrase come from?
Well, it's to do with, like, you know, when times are so tough that you have to eat your own kind, I guess.
Do dogs do that? Do wolves do that?
Probably all animals do that at some point.
I don't know if they do, all of them, but I'm sure.
But
You'd think
not
if an animal was going to, in desperate times...
No, they wouldn't eat dogs.
All themselves.
If it was going to resort to cannibalism, I think wolves might be one of the first ones. Or hyenas or something.
There's probably nothing to do with where that phrase actually comes from. It's
It probably has no basis in fact. Yeah.
Yo, dog. Predates street dogs, right?
I'm sure
Street dog.
Like street dog.
I'm sure every phrase predates street dogs.
Not every phrase.
Most, I say most. Most phrases ever come from the streets, yo.
I mean, well, technically by definition that's true.
Probably.
Apart from when streets didn't exist. In the distant past.
How many of those phrases do we keep, though?
Yeah, I think, like, Roman times is probably about as far back as like, dumb phrases keep, do they?
My dumb phrase comes from Great Watling Street, yo.
People still, like, what are they? There's a few acronyms, aren't they? Like, that are Latin, that are like quid pro quo. And...
Well, there's tons of that legal stuff like that, isn't there? That leads into...
may not have necessarily come from Roman times.
Vis-a-vis.
That might have been people who were still using Latin a lot later.
Is vis-a-vis even Latin? Or is that French or something?
There's a massive list of Latin phrases in the English language and on Wikipedia.
Quid pro quo?
Yeah, what about it?
Yes,
that's what I already said.
Yes,
that's one of them.
There we go. That's Rob doing it. Forgetting what he said pretty much 2 seconds ago.
I said it in a different voice in my head, and then heard it. That must be a different thing.
Okay.
I lost my words in laugh.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, I heard it differently in my head and then assumed it was a different thing to what I had already said. I'm still trying to think of this one that, like, is... I can't remember if it's sciencey or legally, but they sort of shorten to, like, 3 letters or something. It's like, blah, blah, blah.
What, actually,
yeah, that's it. That's what I was trying to think of.
QED? Well, what about etc.?
Well,
I guess that's just straight up Latin, isn't it?
And what's the one CF that you use to refer to something? Do you know that one?
1 CF?
No, well, instead of EG.
Yeah.
What's EG?
1 CF.
What does EG stand for? Something in exactly gratia.
Yeah, and presumably IE is the same thing.
Well, yeah.
And
else.
NB is nota bene, but that's like Italian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds more Italian.
Yeah.
I
But they're not phrases, really. You don't really say NB, or you don't really say nota bene. You write those.
You don't really say any of these.
You might say EG.
You might if you wanted to sound dumb.
If you're talking shop, then maybe.
Yeah, if you wanted to sound dumb. That's what I said.
I don't know. It could make you sound very clever.
You'd probably say etc.
No, it makes you sound like a smart ass. That's different.
Smug, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Ad hoc. Use that in for wireless networks, don't you?
Yeah,
there's absolutely bazillions of them.
Mm.
But yeah, some are
True.
much more common than others. I don't know. I wish I could find the most common ones. You know, the ones that people say all the time, rather than because there's a lot
Like
people
more on
use.
the duck's back.
That's not land.
I'm just thinking old phrases. It's like,
What's that?
Does something like that predate streets? You know, is it medieval phrase?
It's the one that people say, you know, seize the day and all that.
Then again,
Carpe
medieval
diem.
isn't-
There you go.
Yeah.
Then again, they had streets in like
Well,
Roman times anyway.
Would
so
they be
it's-
streets or would they be roads?
Oh,
I guess that depends on what the technical definition of a street is.
This might be-
Is it like with houses on either side, and then it becomes a street rather than a road?
It might have just been roads, like because would they have named their?
Well, you can name a road.
Would people have had addresses in Roman times?
In Roman times, probably. Then there was probably a period when they didn't again.
Yeah.
There's a list here in alphabetical order, and underneath cogito ergo sum, which I'm sure you know.
Yep.
Is coitus interruptus. For some reason. The only permitted form of birth control in some religions. There you go.
All right. Then.
Anyway, Latin. It's a language.
You don't
Which
be having,
you
like,
have a
family planning
GCSE in, don't you?
conversation. Well, yeah, I do have a GCSE in Latin. Yeah.
What did you get? A? Did you get an A?
Yeah, I think I did.
Hardcore.
I couldn't remember any of it now, though.
No.
Like,
No.
I think we've had this
Fine,
conversation on air
French,
before, where I know how to like say like canis est in hortem.
Yeah, the one Latin phrase that you know.
everyone
Caecilius
seems
ested
to
horto.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, Coquiliam multam pecuniam debeo.
And what about-
lots of money?
What about Grumio and the slave girl?
Grumio.
Wherefore art thou Grumio?
Was it Grumio?
I think it might have been Grumio.
Something along those lines.
There was Quintus as well. He was the son of Caecilius. He is not est horto, or whatever.
What did they do with
Ested
those
horto.
books? I mean, were they all set like before the volcano exploded, or
Yeah, I think so.
so? Did you
I
have to
think
study
they're-
for years and years before you actually got to the disaster movie part of the thing?
Well, I doubt they were writing anything during the disaster movie part.
No,
I think
know.
it's like they were real people, like Caecilius and Quintus, and
Right, yeah,
like I think it's actually based on a family they knew was there.
yeah.
Are you gay? That's a word. That's like hooray.
I was thinking the other day that we used to have Asterix books, you know, when we were young, and
Yeah.
one of them was Asterix the Legionary, I think, and he went and
Yeah.
joined the Roman Legion, right? And I didn't know any Latin, obviously, and occasionally they would have like "Hail Caesar," but it was written "Ave Caesar." But
Yeah.
my dad found it hilarious that I didn't know what Ave was, so I was saying "Ave Caesar," like "Ave Caesar."
It's not as bad as what I thought.
What did you think?
I thought it was had some weird pronunciation, and it was like I've.
I've Caesar. I've.
I think I've sounds like a greeting. Like I've.
Oh, I've, mate.
Taylor Greek.
So obviously,
Have you seen-
it's not me. It's not just me. Then every kid who had this book couldn't pronounce this
Yeah,
Latin
but
word.
they were-
Half the people who were doing Latin in school, obviously.
yeah, but if when you're doing Latin in school, are you really still reading Asterix?
Sure, I guess.
I think people know Ave because if you're Catholic, then you say Ave Maria a lot. I guess.
Probably. If you're in the choir,
Indeed.
that's something they just casually say, like wandering around the house. Oh, Maria.
Well,
Hey,
no one knew what the Latin was when we were in the choir in the prep school singing bloody In Excelsis Deo. It was just like
Oh, yeah.
saying Kanchelskis, the footballer. Kanchelskis Deo. So blasphemous.
Deus Ex back in them.
Yeah, there's another
another
one. That's weird because that's Latin, but the it comes from Greek, right? The actual Greek theatre, the actual act of doing a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah,
I believe.
maybe that was just the trope was coined by the Romans or something.
No, I think it was well, I don't know, but the Greeks were a little bit
Like the
earlier
Greeks,
in
but
general,
the Greeks
weren't
probably did it, but maybe the Romans noticed it and gave it a
they? Yeah,
name.
probably. But it was literal, wasn't it? They had literally had a crane, and they would bring in a god character on the crane, like from heaven, to like solve the situation. Be like, everything's fixed, yo.
Push the reset button with the crane.
They should do that more often. I mean, it's a bad dramatic device, but they should have cranes delivering people in in theatre more often. That part of it they should have kept. That was cool. The lazy writing, not so much. They kept the lazy writing and they threw out the awesome crane part.
But would the modern equivalent of a crane be like people coming in on wires?
Yeah,
or...
obviously.
Yeah.
So they do still do that quite a lot.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, fair enough.
But maybe they should take plays that don't normally involve wires and just, put people on wires.
Well, that sounds like the kind of thing they do just for, they'd have like, let's do a like modern fancy version of this play where for some reason it's on the moon. Not actually. But that's just like for some reason everyone is doing wire stunts all the time just because we can.
Yeah, exactly. Like some kind of some kind of like over artified theatre.
Yep.
Like take the full Monty, put it on wires.
Sounds like that's gonna get very explicit.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else would be good with wires now. Like dancing on ice on wires.
Well, that would mean you can do it as a stage show without ice, because then you could do jumps and stuff without having to actually have any speed, because you just have the wires lift you up.
Or you'd have to be pretending to skate whilst in the air.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be quite difficult, actually.
I don't know.
Especially if you're having to do a lift, and there's like multiple people on wires, and you're having to try to do it so the wires don't get all tangled.
So speaking of high wire stuff in the sort of theatre sense, I went to see Back to the Future on Friday. The crazy secret cinema thing. Did I tell you about this thing?
No.
Right. So
if you have, I've forgotten.
So it's just a showing of Back to the Future, but they went to extreme lengths. Like they rebuilt basically most of the entire town of Hill Valley on a little hill near the Olympic Park, and it had like the clock tower was where the screen was, but then you had all kinds of like that had you came in and it had the suburbs, and you can go into Biff Tannen's house and the McFly residence and stuff and check all that out, and it had a whole working phone system, and all these actors dressed up in 50s stuff, and then it had shops, it had the diner, it had the whole town of Hill Valley and everything, and everyone had to like dress up and stuff, and it was like
that's quite extreme.
It was pretty crazy. It had the ball, it had the schoolhouse, and it had the dance with the band playing and people doing swing dance and everything in there, and lockers and all kinds of stuff. And it had an actual yellow school bus that was driving people from the suburbs up to the school, and various cars. It had the Texaco garage thing with people singing the Texaco theme song and stuff, and like repairing cars and shit. Well, pretending to repair cars. It was pretty crazy.
You say this was all like built? Like, what was it? Was it like convincingly built?
Well, yeah. I mean,
what was it made of?
Well, the shops on the stores that were lining the kind of square, they were actually shipping containers behind. But then the fronting was all done to look, like a real building or whatever.
Oh, wow.
They're only one-story things.
Yeah, but even so.
Yeah, it was really, they put a lot of effort into it. And, they had a radio station and everything broadcasting. I think, I'm not sure.
Is it like for one day only? Just to
no.
This 1.5 hour film?
No, it's not for one day. I think it's going on all month, pretty much. Okay. But it was supposed to be.
That makes more sense.
yeah, it's quite a big deal.
I I thought it was like some kind of. When you said like secret theatre, I was like, is this just going to be like one showing somewhere?
Well, it's supposed to be,
sneaky
secret.
projection on the side of the Olympic buildings or something. Like someone just brought a truck, and broadcast out the back of it.
Well, these people used to do more. They're called secret cinema, and it used to be more of a secret. Some of the stuff, but this one was just so big. But they didn't tell you where it actually was. You had to go to a different station and walk. But anyway, there's no way they could keep that secret because it's like a huge fair with a Ferris wheel and everything, like right outside the Westfield Stratford. So
someone would have pegged something. It's like this looks kind of big.
Yeah. Anyway, so during the film, obviously, they had actors like doing stuff at certain key points, like the DeLorean comes out for any time travel sequences and moves around, and they had a Marty McFly on a skateboard who was driving around the audience, hanging onto the back of the truck and stuff. What do you call that? All that stuff, and doing
Skitching.
and all the key scenes were kind of played out, and of course it had a wire coming down off the clock tower down to the telegraph pole on the left or whatever, and at the crucial moment Doc Brown actually zip-lined down it. So that was pretty cool.
that's quite bizarre.
Yeah,
so that's quite distracting though if you're not already
I think
aware of the film.
Yeah, well, I think most of the people there are probably fans of the film, having gone to such lengths to see Back to the Future thing. But
what's the likelihood of them rebooting a Back to the Future for the like a modern version?
I don't know. I hope they don't.
They really need to.
Yeah. I mean,
how old is it now? It's like 30 years old, isn't it?
Nearly. Yeah, nearly. But they made 2 sequels, didn't they? So.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be Back to the Future goes back to 1985, and then goes back to 1955.
They don't need to make it a reboot, because you can just make it another time travel film. And just it wouldn't have to be related to. It could just be exactly the same concept, only with different character and a different title slapped on it.
Maybe
because it's just there's not really very much overarching. It's like there's an inventor dude and he can make a time travel machine out of practically anything, apparently. Be it a car or a train or whatever the fuck.
It's a bit. Yeah, I admit it's. I guess the concepts of Back to the Future aren't really that unique anymore.
No.
Everyone's done a time travel thing. I guess when they did it, it was just no one's done a big budget time travel before like this.
It was
no one's done it as well as that though. That first film did it really well. I mean,
I like all 3, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's the third one I've probably seen more than any of them.
Basically, the only thing...
I don't know why I've seen that one so much. I just always seem to catch it, or it's maybe it's the one TV likes.
Yeah, probably the one they have license for. It's really the only thing that was actually the unique part of Back to the Future was 88 miles an hour. That was basically the one conceit that made it an action movie, basically.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would just be if it was just like the TARDIS where you just walk in the door and then you just go.
Yeah, it wouldn't have
been very difficult.
Well, the third film wouldn't have worked at all, would it? Because the whole plot is about building the train to make it work.
Yeah.
And it's.
I was surprised watching it again that I mean it's kind of a family film, right? Back to the Future. He's in school, right? But it doesn't stop him saying when this baby hits 88 miles an hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
I did not realise that line was in the film.
That's the line. That's awesome.
I didn't realise he said serious shit.
Anyway, it was pretty good.
It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've seen the first one. In fairness,
it's good.
Well, there's also the bit where the mysterious Libyan gunman comes and shoots him.
Yeah, Libyans. And they had that as well. They had a perfect Volkswagen camper van with Libyans shooting at them out of the camper van while they were driving around the square. It was pretty cool. Libyans.
So do you reckon they're going to come back and try and do some more fancy stuff for the third one? How are they going to do the giant holographic shark?
Yeah, they'll do some other film next, I would have thought. Don't know what, though. This is the biggest one they've done so far, so I don't know what that... No, well, I don't know. It needs to be
Poseidon Adventure. Just put everything underwater.
just get everyone gets in a boat. That would be really scary. Imagine if you would, you knew it was Secret Cinema and you know it was the Poseidon Adventure, and you're all shepherded onto a boat at the start. It's like, oh god, what's going to happen to this boat?
Oh no!
Or the Titanic. That would be pretty good as well. Man, Titanic. They could sort of do that. That wouldn't be as good though. I don't know.
You might need one of those eco green ponchos though.
I don't think that would help that much.
Well, no, but
when you fall into the sea.
Presumably, their version of putting on the events of the Titanic or anything at sea, like A Perfect Storm or, I don't know, other sea films.
It would make more sense for them before the
They would just be throwing. There'd be lots of like buckets being thrown, I'd imagine. Or...
But it'd be like that goddamn gross thing at that theme park at Fort Park.
No, it's not. It's different now. But the 4D,
did they make it less gross?
You mean the 4D cinema where it would like squirt shit out of the back of the chairs?
And the whole room was just constantly damp, so it smelled horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah.
No, I think it's still that cinema, but they've just put different content in it now. But
so it still has the square thing in it.
I think it might be Ice Age or something now.
That's not water, that's snow.
Well, the whole thing will be covered in talcum powder then.
Oh man, that would be terrible. Don't tell me to dry up though. Let's just alternate.
That's very true. Yeah, you get squared in the face with like water, and then they just stick stuff to you. Then they throw flour at you, and then you just end up with this like cake layer.
You just end up with like a paste, white paste all over the floor of this.
Hi, welcome to Troll Theatres.
Oh, horrible.
This is Robco Cinema, fucker.
Yeah, pretty much.
I also saw Gardens and Galaxies. Have you seen that?
Went through my head.
Oh, really?
Cinema that fucked you in the face.
What?
Well, that's that white paste.
Yeah. Oh. Oh.
I like how you agreed with that before you realised what you were talking about. It's like, yes, wait.
A moment of realisation. I don't know what came over me.
Good one.
But we're so funny. News?
Yeah, apparently. Let's move on. We can't segue out of that one.
But actually, if you did, I'd be worried. Probably be wrong.
Wondering if you'd seen the Marvel film that is out.
Oh, what, we go into the Galaxy? Did we not talk about this last time?
No.
I don't think we did.
It's fucking amazing.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I enjoyed it.
That's what everyone says.
It is brilliant.
Love it.
I mean, most Marvel films are generally pretty sweet, but, this one is exceptionally sweet.
This one's the best one I've seen for a while. I don't know what.
It's super dumb, and I came out of it feeling like the plot is just haphazard, but somehow it all works.
Well, it's thin, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter too much. I mean, it just has a classic MacGuffin device thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The
weakest element is the threat.
Yeah,
of that whole film, the bad guy and the thing is just they are the least characterized and the least fleshed out. But that's
the thing itself doesn't really make much sense when he goes to talk to Benicio del Toro or whatever about what it is.
Yeah,
that bit doesn't really matter. It's like,
it sort of does in the greater scheme of the Marvel universe, doesn't it?
Yeah,
those things are a big deal in where they're taking the series.
Is that right?
I think so. Now that there's two of them in play.
No, that's true. It's kind of like the what's the stupid MacGuffin in Assassin's Creed? The apples. The apples, yeah, that's quite similar.
Or the thing from Transformers, they'll just mash that together. Bring the Transformers into the Marvel universe.
The weird Energon cube, yeah.
No, it's not Energon, because that's the thing that they run on.
Yeah, what do they call it?
Or something.
Oh, the Allspark.
Yeah, that's it.
Although that's modern Transformers lore, we should say. That's not... The Allspark wasn't a thing before, was it?
It might have been, because it wasn't the whole thing where, Optimus Prime puts it in his chest or whatever, when the other one dies. I've never seen the Transformers movie. I've just inherited small amounts of knowledge about it.
I didn't know if it was meant from like, you know, if it was from Transformers pre-movie time.
Yeah,
Mm.
I imagine it probably is.
I still maintain the first Transformers film is a good film. The rest of them, you can.
You mean the first modern one?
The first modern one, yeah. not the anime film.
No.
But yeah, the first, or American anime film,
Yeah,
whatever it was. Yeah, the first Michael Bay one is actually okay.
I don't like it.
Once you get over the start, anyway. Once you get out of the car section.
It's a bit slow to start, I'll admit.
And then again, it kind of it's like you either have it be too slow or too fast. Is basically the problem.
But the thing is, I think it struck quite a nice balance. Like, you know, Michael Bay has a tendency of being way too many explosions all the time. Whoa! It sort of paced it better and wasn't long. It's like it's sort of just I don't know. It sort of just sat right. Whereas, you know, from what everyone's been saying about the latest one, it's like he sort of got some stuff better, but then pads it out with an extra 2 hours of robot fighting. It's too long.
That would have been the segue for the dicks. Too long.
It's too long. Yeah.
Damn.
Talk about other things.
Reverse segues. We'll segue backwards.
They don't really work.
But yeah, there's been so many posts online, like, floating around saying, don't go and watch the Ninja Turtles, go watch Guardians of the Galaxy. Again.
Well, I think that's just don't watch the Ninja Turtles, there's plenty enough of a comment.
Yeah, that's also Michael Bay. While we're on the Michael Bay pain train, I'm trying to think.
Man, it was so genius combining space action with 60s pop songs.
Yeah.
No other movie could do that.
So I went around to friends for dinner the other night, and they just had the soundtrack for that playing.
Yeah, that's all you need. Just stick it on. Hooked on.
If you like pina colada.
It's genius. And a great hero named Kevin Bacon. It's genius.
It's probably awesome. Bacon. Oh, I suppose Bacon has been in the Marvel universe, hasn't he?
Well, he was
in First Class.
Yeah, First Class, right? He was the baddie.
It's technically Fox rather than Marvel. That's
right. So that means he's not in the Marvel cinematic universe. Is that right? Because that doesn't include Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they've landed on whether the X-Men fits in or not, because they can't, I guess.
I suppose they can't, yeah.
So they've never really said otherwise.
I wonder what will happen in the long run, whether they'll... Well, no, I suppose there's no way that they'll ever get the rights to that stuff back, probably. Although it's owned by Disney, isn't it? So Disney might... I don't know. But I don't think they'll get the rights to everything back.
Yeah.
Because it's just too valuable. Because if Marvel keep making awesome superhero films, then the other guys can make even lackluster films. And
Marvel might have had a chance until First Class came out, which was a genuinely brilliant film. And then... Well, this last one wasn't so hot, I don't think. It was all right, but it's not...
Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah, it wasn't nearly as good as First Class. And it's... So, you know, before the First Class came out, then maybe they would have had a chance to buy the rights off Fox or something, but that moment has passed again. And Sony are still making money off Spider-Man, as terrible as I think those new films are.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the second one of those. Is that... Well,
I find that less painful than the first one, but it's still not really a good film. It's like sort of badly structured, but it's sort of entertaining, if you see what I mean. You kind of are into it, but I'm not sure the enjoyment is the right word to describe it.
Man, who's the baddie in the first one? That was lame. Was it the lizard thing?
Yeah, it's whatever the bloody hell that lizard
King
guy is
Croc
called.
Or whatever. No, that's Batman, isn't it?
Yeah. The
lizard dude. Yeah, that's tame. It's a shame because I kind of, in principle, I quite like Andrew Garfield and
I like him.
Emma Stone.
I'm not, and sort of he plays the role okay, I think, but it's just I don't think their characterization of Spider-Man this time around is like just not believable. I mean, that's dumb to say about, you know, fucking man spiders.
Men's man spiders.
Men's man spiders. As opposed to ladies' man spiders. Can you get men's lady spiders? Yeah, films. Go see Guardians of the Galaxy. If you haven't heard that enough times already.
Did you see the after credits thing?
I did. WTF are they going to do with that?
Who knows?
Actually, what is the next Marvel film coming? I don't really know.
Dunno.
Is it
Well,
Avengers 2 or something?
yeah, that's coming, isn't it? And they're filming Ant-Man now.
Oh, yes, I'd forgotten about that.
I don't know. It's all planned, isn't it? It's all in phases and all that shit.
Are they going through like a lull for a bit? Because there's nothing being really like teased or.
No, there'll be something next year, won't there? Avengers Age of Ultron. So when's that? May next year.
Yeah, so I guess we'll be seeing trailers for that start turning up soon.
Yeah, I expect so. Cinematic universe.
Is it Star Wars next year as well?
Yeah, next Christmas. Yeah, I think.
Whoop.
That'll be alright.
I was saying, like, Noam apparently has never seen any of the first 3 Star Wars films.
What?
First 3 or the first 3?
Like, the proper 3.
Okay.
4, 5, and 6, I guess.
How is that even possible?
Yeah.
Well, and has she seen the other ones?
I think she may have seen some of 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, I guess. Yeah.
Oh no, that's a disaster.
Yeah. So we should probably do that.
Yep.
Oh man,
I'm
I
don't
way
actually
up for
own
watching
a
Star
copy
Wars.
of Star Wars.
I've got them on DVD. Although I heard they're going to release
them. I
them.
don't want them on DVD, man. We gotta go more than DVD now.
You need Blu-ray.
Well, I heard they're going to
They
release
won't be in
them.
that kind of quality anyway.
Yeah, they are though.
Well, it depends though. You know, like you can do proper
But the
film
Blu-ray
upscaling is
copies are
quite good.
fucks though because
Yeah,
they've
They've
messed
got the
with
new
them.
versions, have they?
yeah, they're the fucked version.
Ah.
Or are they the
They're
double
the-
fucked version?
They're the double fucked ones where they screwed up they added the no sound effect to the end when Darth Vader throws the Emperor down the well.
Wait, did they?
Yeah, they fucked it up completely, even more so in the Blu-ray.
But even after the internet had torn that sound effect to shreds, they just added it back in for some reason.
Yeah, they added it back more. It's like worse.
No.
It's just totally screwed. Anyway, but I heard rumors that they're going to release.
That's so dumb.
I know they're going to release the original cuts of it on Blu-ray, as in pre-97 special edition as well.
Oh, good.
So actual original Star Wars, provided they can get it sorted out.
So there's never been an HD release of the originals?
No,
Huh. Surprising.
Is it?
Yeah.
George Lucas doesn't admit he's wrong. That's why that happened.
Mm. That's why he's no longer involved.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So yeah, maybe it's worth waiting for those copies. Although, because my
Which
DVD
means this is never
copies,
going to
like,
happen.
No.
yeah, I mean my DVD copies are like special edition, I guess. I don't know if they've got anything else different about them. I think they might do. I think they might be a different version again, but at least they don't have.
Was that when they first redid some of the space stuff? Because like they re-CG'd a lot of the fights, didn't they?
Well, the only important things are hand shot first, the stupid fucking Jabba the Hutt scene,
Yep.
and the ghost at the end.
Oh wait, so the hand shot first thing is clear on the original, is it? Or
Have you never actually seen that?
I
ridiculous...
can't remember. It's been so long,
Okay.
Because I just want to see
and I've
the
never
end of
like been that like fussy about it. So it's like
the end of Jedi. I haven't seen the original end of Jedi with the stupid song for ages. You know, where they start singing a little Ewok dance or whatever.
Yeah.
oh god, that's the worst though.
But they totally replaced that with like shots of the Empire falling and stuff, right? With in the special edition.
That's probably
and then the fuck-up
better.
ghosts.
No one likes Ewok dancing.
But it was. I haven't heard that little song even because they cut it out completely. I think didn't they? They replaced it with new music by John Williams in the '97 version of Jedi.
Yeah, but
I just remember fucking hating that bit. It's like this is such an anticlimax.
But the new stuff doesn't fit in because it's so obviously CG. Where it's just
Well,
like, oh look, here's Cloud City again, and here's Coruscant.
In the new
Yeah.
graphics. Yeah.
It's true.
I guess that is the problem. They have a consistency issue, don't they, with like how everything looks old and new.
Yeah, it's like that's why the new films at least they're all consistently the same style. And then you have this kind of excuse where it's like, and then the Empire came along and made everything look shit. Made their generic Stormtrooper clothes out of plastic.
Have you seen those shots of the potential new Stormtrooper helmet for the new film that are kind of vaguely leaked? They look really cool.
That different.
They look pretty cool. They
already had different Stormtrooper helmets. I mean, come on.
I know, but these look more like the original ones, but cooler. Like they look.
What does that even mean?
Well, like they're much closer to the original Stormtrooper helmets than the clone trooper helmets are.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But more slick looking, I guess.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. Anyway.
Are they more aerodynamic?
Yeah, probably. So I've got the phases here of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Phase 1, 2, and 3. So Phase 2
is what we're in, right?
Is what we're in, right? So Guardians of the Galaxy, and then the last film of Phase 2 is Avengers 2, which is next May. And then Phase 3, the first film, is Ant-Man.
So, okay, really is a wait until May until another one then? Because it feels like they were churning them out quite quickly for a while. Like, because we've had both Winter Soldier and Guardians this year.
Yeah. It looks like it's 2 a year, is it? Sort of? No,
yeah,
not quite.
sort of. I mean, what did they have last... The year before was Thor 2 and...
Iron Man 3.
Oh, yeah.
And then before that was the Avengers.
They so screwed up Iron Man after the first one. I don't know. Like, the first one is great, but the second two just aren't so great.
Yeah, I definitely...
Actually, the second one is actually bad. I'll go as far as saying Iron Man 2 is a bad film.
Well, but
Iron Man 3 is alright.
They basically made the obvious mistake of, like, admitting that the Iron Man suit was just a thing that you could make.
Yeah. And, you know, he has so many resources, he can just make
more of them,
yeah.
Yeah, that got ridiculous by the end of Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Although they have said Tony Stark will return, but I don't think that they have a contract with Downey Jr. anymore or something. So
I'm sure they do.
He won't be outside the suit. It will just be a warm voice.
Yeah,
that sounds sort of like him.
He's definitely going to be in the Avengers. I'm sure they have a contract with him because isn't that like the most valuable contract in Hollywood or something?
Maybe. I just remember them saying something or maybe Downey Jr. said something at some point saying, "I'm not really interested in doing this anymore" or something.
Right. Well, I think he'll be in the Avengers film, but I don't know on that.
Yeah, it's like don't fuck up the universe, Stark.
They can
real Stark.
They can solve that problem in any number of ways they want to, because that's the whole point of the comic universe, where you can just randomly remove characters for no apparent reason, and everyone's fine. He fell into an alternate universe by accident. Whoops.
Yeah, he burned himself real bad and got facial reconstructive surgery, but it sort of went a bit wrong.
Yep.
And turned him into...
He can't come outside the suit at all now, he's like Darth Vader.
Turned into Ryan Gosling. Big baby man.
We should definitely do the Star Wars marathon, though.
You want to marathon it all through?
No, not necessarily.
Come on.
All 6.
No way, I'm not watching.
Hardcore.
I'm watching.
What? So you want to raise her up just to kick her in the not balls?
No, you start from the shit, so you
you're
constantly up.
But you can't do the first 3 before, because the first 3 spoil. Well, the 1, 2, and 3 spoil 4, 5, and 6.
There's an order that somebody worked out that you need to watch them in, where you watch 4 first, and then 2 and 3, and then 5 and 6, and you never watch 1 because it has no consequence to any plot whatsoever.
Nope.
Well, something like that. So you watch 2 and 3.
Apart from Anakin meeting Padme, that's probably the one thing.
Yeah, but you could get that. That's explained by a couple of sentences in 2, right?
Where it's just I haven't seen you since we were children. And so there you go, jump from.
There you go, done. Yeah, entire film negated. Yeah. So that way you see.
That's the sound I always associate with with episode 1 is I think it's Team Toe's pod.
Yep.
It's just spinning out and it goes, oh, woo!
Now hold on. Surely you have to watch 4 and 5 because Luke, I Am Your Father, presumably Gnome knows that, But
Who
regardless,
doesn't? You would hope.
regardless, it's still a spoiler if you watch any of the prequels because you know
Yeah.
he's your father or whatever.
Well, I don't know. Do
Sort
you?
of.
Because they never say the name of the babies until right at the end of 3.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just like she's having some babies.
But you know that in the
You can't
first
watch-
one,
can't watch 3,
Obi-Wan
presumably.
says your father is called Anakin, right? Anakin Skywalker, right?
How did he?
Oh yeah, I guess. Well, maybe.
I think he says that when he talks to, and he gives him the lightsaber, and talks to him in his hut
possibly.
and stuff, and explains what the shit's going on. Vaguely, anyway.
Sort of.
4, 5, and 6. We just do those.
Yes. Sounds good to me. I've got them on DVD, but if you want Blu-ray, you'll have to contend with the crapness.
And a bit of me is now intrigued by the double fuck of this.
It's the ultra fucked films. Because I can't believe he went back again. I went to a podcast recording with Ho the other day, and they had free hats available for their podcast. And I was thinking of the free hat episode.
Were they like on a construction site? Like, put on your hard hats.
No, they were woolly hats. It was just like, oh yeah, free hats.
It's really
was
fucking
like,
cold in here.
oh, this is like that South Park episode where they want people to come along, so they say, have a free hat. And they want people to come and support the please directors don't fuck up your films by changing them. Oh, and also free hat. And then it turns out everyone wants to free someone in prison called Hat, who's a murderer.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Free hat, free hat. Anyway. Star
They
Wars.
should follow. Although, if TF2 has taught us anything, free hats.
Well, not free hats.
I know.
Not free. Free game,
free-
paid for hats.
Free hats at first.
Well, you can still technically get free hats. It just takes a very long time.
Yeah. Or you can get a random free hat if you're lucky.
That's true. Can't remember.
Or, you know, that's the
Last
promotional
random
deals for
hat.
other games, weren't they? Like, you buy another game, you get a free hat.
Sort of, yeah. They don't do hats in those as often any longer.
Vague attempt at a gaming segue. Hey, we're an hour into this podcast and we haven't talked about any news.
News!
News!
What's going on in the world of news? Gamescom happened, I guess.
Now these huge pile of notes you made are going to be completely pointless because we're just going to have to skip through it real quick.
No, we don't. We can take as long as we want.
I don't know about
That's the
that.
advantage of this, like, new unrestrained format.
Oh, God.
Yes, but Dan always gets pissy if we go 2.5 hours.
The phone gets pissy first.
It's already too long. I haven't got my phone going this time around. I forgot to press the start button. So
No,
you'll have to...
interrupting Marimba.
No, you'll have to pay attention.
Not gonna.
No.
Right, so stuff.
Oh, hold on.
happened.
You just said it we're an hour into this podcast, so I can just set it to 1 hour 15 and start it. There we go.
You'd be early by about 2 minutes, but you know.
Okay, never mind. Be early. Good hope. News. Gamescom. A bunch of gameplay videos and stuff of new games that are coming out this year.
Yeah.
Right?
There was some stuff, but you know, before Gamescom even happened, like there was some other stuff as well. Like, I don't know, Evolve. We missed this last time. This news came out before the last podcast we do. But Evolve, one of the hit games of this year, will be a hit game of next year.
Well, like a lot of games, really.
Yeah,
Like all kinds of shit is getting delayed into next year at this point.
yeah. The year of delays. So yeah, Evolve's not going to happen this year. They showed some of that at Gamescom. Like, I think they showed some of it during Microsoft's conference, and it's like, I'm not quite sure why they feel the need to make a sort of esports slant on this. It's like every time they've shown that game, they've sort of tried to push it. Yeah, man, this is a competitive sport-like game in this mysterious fantasy world of giant monsters. And
That part isn't in Congress with esports at all. Because that's like,
true, that's Dota.
That's like all computer games.
Yeah. But I don't know, it's like, because the way they did it this year was like they actually had two like commentator guys just get up on stage and watch this match whilst going, oh, he's going up to level 3, this is the most powerful this monster can be, and it's
not really that can't. I don't think you can make that an esport because it's uneven teams.
but maybe that makes it easier for you to like, for
Unless
them
it's
to like
like-
follow the monster or something, so you've got like something to focus on.
I guess. But like,
Which is the problem with most esports, isn't it? Like, because it's hard to get the whole picture.
I mean, you still got 4 other guys though,
Yeah, but they
and they're
sort of
not
tend
always
to.
together.
Well, no, but they might be trying to. I don't know. Maybe there is some, because it's like a smaller player count. Maybe there is some potential for it to be
I don't think
a
there's.
bit e-sporty. I don't know.
I don't think there's that. I don't think that sort of game is.
So it's a bit hard to see what's going on.
Well, I don't think it has like clear enough win conditions.
Everyone dies.
Well, yeah, it's like, but then like, how would you resolve? How would that resolve into like, if you needed any more granularity than just win, then you'd be fucked because it's like, what do you like? How fast you won, or
Yeah, but then Dota doesn't really have that, does it? Like, you win or lose.
yeah, but I don't. I wouldn't have thought that you could have a way to form teams for an uneven, because unless you're like having like a cricket team or whatever, where it's like this guy is shit at everything else apart from the monster. He's like the wicket keeper.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe like a proper team would have like 5 members or something. Like, this is the monster. This is the monster player, and these are
you
the
have to have someone be the dual skilled guy.
Maybe. Or you swap them out based on what monster you're like. They specialise in a
Yeah,
monster.
like one different one, or then you have it like Dota, and you have it so like, this round we're going to ban your best monster player from playing the monster, so someone else has to do it.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know how any of that stuff's going to sort of play out, if there are going to be.
It's not.
I mean,
it's what's going to happen.
No, it's not. I just find it weird that they're trying so hard to like put that spin on it.
You think they'd be able to come up with some other game that they could maybe esport it?
Whenever someone tries to target esports, though, it doesn't really. No one's really landed it yet, have they? It's like, because the only one I can really think of when people talk about this, but they're so gunned for esports, is obviously Shoot Mania, and it's like, and that, well, a big pile of turd that's end of that thing.
It's because it was a bad game. That's the thing. That's the thing. I'm going to make this reference again, but it's just like the Eve mining barge situation, where it's like, you can't make people go to something that's worse, because that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
People always go to the thing that's good.
Yeah. I mean, that is the challenge.
I guess like Dota 2. I mean, Dota was just a mod, right? But already was an esport effectively. But Valve obviously thought about how do we make this full on esport, and they've got insane
they have
resources,
done since
right?
it came out of beta anyway. That's pretty much all they've been focusing on.
Exactly.
Apart from balance, and like it's been like they've been adding like those crazy new spectator features. You know, the ability to stream in the game client, that kind of stuff, and it's
so in some ways that
all of that
they're
has
obviously
come out as a
targeting
result
it.
of Dota's like pre-launch size.
I don't know if that's necessarily gunning for esports as much as trying to do something about ease of entry, because those sort of spectating tools would be useful for people trying to learn the game.
Yeah, true. Because Valve they did for a while anyway, try and do something about game mentoring, didn't they? And
yeah, in Team Fortress.
Would be another place that perhaps needs that.
Yeah.
Do they have any system like that in Dota? Like, you can just connect to someone who's like all right with losing to like teach you the game or something. Like,
maybe. The whole point of the Team Fortress one was that it was just basically spectator. But apart from it was like, spectate one guy and you can talk directly to them.
So what are you doing now? What are you doing now? What are you doing now?
Stop sucking!
Yeah.
Shoot that guy. Get him.
I mean, I'm good at this backseat play.
Yeah.
Yeah, so esports. Like, I don't know, what could work better as an esport? You need something where like it's easily visible to a spectator exactly what is going on and exactly what the skill is that's going on. I mean, that's why I think shooters fail, because it's hard to sort of see, oh, that's an amazing shot, unless you, as it happens, you have to cut to a first-person view after it's happened and have some kind of like slow motion replay of exactly what they did to make it look awesome. It's from a spectator, it's just too easy to miss that kind of stuff. And even then, there's stuff happening all over the map. So again, the problem is getting the big picture. I mean, Dota has that problem even now, where it's like getting the big picture of what's going on. It's actually really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only people who would want to watch Dota are people who play it. Surely, or do people watch it?
I was thinking I watched some of the
do.
international, like out of interest. And
Only because I watched some of it and then was like, sometimes this is funny.
It is sort of interesting in a weird way, but yeah, it's hard. It is just generally hard to figure out. Like, it's a difficult game at the best of times, but you can at least get the basics down and then have some sort of enjoyment watching it. But I just struggle with big picture stuff in like video games. I don't know. I don't even know what game you could create other than like fighters already have this down. Presumably, you can watch a fighting game because everything is laid in front of you. Kinda. It's like there is no big picture. It's just some dude wailing on some other dude.
It's like one-on-one games.
Yeah,
it's the ones that are easy.
The thing about the fighting game is that like it may be obvious what's going on, like, but the only thing that's actually interesting is really hard to spot unless you know all about it, right? The only thing that makes it an actual sport is not the spectacle of the two people punching each other. It's like the exact timings of the exact combos and shit, which you're never going to know just watching it, unless you played it.
Well, unless you get into it, yeah. Or unless you watch it enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if you watched it enough, you still might not.
But then that relies on the quality of commentators and the ability to like. This is another thing that some things like Dota lack. They don't have the resources behind them yet to be able to do things like like a modern sports game would, where it's like if they missed something, they can go back and see it immediately and show you like here's an action replay of what exactly just happened.
Well, that's why none of them
talk you through it.
That's why none of them work in like. For the general populace, because like if you had action replays or whatever in Dota, there's just no time to do that because it's almost always something happening.
Yeah,
and the same
no
for fighting
downtime.
games where it's just like you can't do a replay of that because the fucking match is over in 30 seconds.
Yeah, maybe something like in some ways like something with like Counter-Strike's like round based thing or something that has downtime, like that you can like in professional conditions perhaps like purposefully pause the game. Like, it doesn't have to be breakneck. I mean, maybe when you're practicing or something, you skip these sequences, but maybe when it's like live or something, the game is like adding pauses for like these moments where people can talk about what just happened to make it easier to watch or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it comes down that mechanically, I don't think any game has really nailed it or I'm not sure has quite nailed it in a visibly entertaining way. And it's a real difficult thing. I can't think how you would do it. Like, you do need some insane variant on sport that you just couldn't do in real life. I'm thinking Hyperblade here.
Naturally.
Or some kind of, like brutal sports where you can do... or
Windjammers.
Windjammers.
Windjammers is too fast, though.
Yeah.
And also not actually very complicated, either. There's not really much to do with Windjammers.
No, but you need something with enough depth and
Dynaball.
enough. Yeah.
Dynaball? What were the other future sport stupid games?
It was like brutal sports football and like Tecmo Bowl, I suppose. Was Tecmo Bowl even? No, I might be wrong on that one. Smash TV.
Oh yeah, Smash TV.
Yeah, I don't know. Tricky one. We're not there yet.
No.
So what else happened? What else should we talk about? EA Access. Should we talk about that? Because that was kind of known before Gamescom that was a thing.
So what's the deal?
So it's a subscription service that EA are running to sort of. They want to do their own version of PSN and Xbox Live's like free games stuff.
Right.
So if you're subscribing to to EA Access, you gain access to their vault, which is a selection of their sort of older titles. So I think, like in Xbox's case, you get pretty much everything that came out at launch on Xbox One. But they won't do. They have very limited access to new stuff, so new stuff won't immediately become available on the service. But you do get like a weird 6-hour window in which you can play new games, like to sort of try before you buy, sort of thing.
Right, instead of a demo, you get.
Yeah, and 6 hours is quite a lot, but I don't know if that's like the EA game time thing that they have on Origin, where it's like you have access, and the moment you start playing, it's like the clock starts ticking, and you have to play it within that 6-hour period from first boot or something. I don't know the detail there, but it's
even that would be okay. if you were trying
Yeah.
something out.
There'd be like a one-time demo, like I guess. But then, to me, that just screams, "Why don't you make a demo?"
No, but then you can just keep playing if you decide to pay, right?
Yeah. If you bought the game, then obviously you have access to the whole thing. But
you wouldn't get
That's
that
the
with a
thing.
demo because you'd lose all your
that's the
progress
thing. You're
with them.
subscribing to a 6-hour demo.
Yeah.
If you put it in those terms. But and the interesting bit here is, I suppose, that it's not excessively priced. They've called it like $5 a month, or you can get a $30 a year version. So it's not a great amount of money. But Sony have turned it down from being allowed on PS4 or the PlayStation platform, saying that it's not good value. And it's like, so presumably they're putting that up next to PS Plus and just saying, no, this sucks. And they're probably right.
Well, so you can't. They've just said we won't have this service available on PS4.
Yeah.
But surely it's just more free stuff. Why is
Yeah,
it
exactly. Microsoft has just gone, yeah, sure, we'll take your money. It's like, because presumably Microsoft get a cut, I guess. Or maybe they don't. Maybe that's the problem. But they've allowed it. Microsoft have allowed. They must have come to some agreement. But
Well, I don't know. I guess Sony have no need of it necessarily, but it seems a shame not to have it.
Well, it's just like how many
just-
EA games do you really play that are going to warrant this subscription, I guess? It's like...
That's true. It's probably terrible value.
Then again, $30 a year is enough for you to get last year's FIFA at half price forever. If you put it like... think of it in some ways. If you're into your sports games but don't like playing like super up-to-date sports game prices, then be a year behind.
Yeah, and then you're pretty much sorted, right?
Yeah, I mean, if
You
you're
get
okay
the
with
the next to newest FIFA every year.
yeah, I mean, if you're okay with that, then that's probably not a bad offer. But we don't know. It depends how this stuff like all evolves, I guess. Like as more games enter the library, then presumably the value becomes much more worth it. But until then, and I know EA's recent track record, I guess, hasn't been great. So.
That's true.
So yeah, EA Access. It's a thing.
Well, I'm not paying for that. What else is going on?
Nope, I'm not either. Where else is that then? I just randomly something caught my eye because someone was trying to make an arena shooter, and we keep talking about where the fuck are the arena shooters? And it's I noticed this thing called Minimum, which is a third-person arena shooter by the original dev of Prey, Human Head Studios. And it's kind of weird because they've gone like, you know how like minimalist interior design is like, let's put nothing in here and paint everything white.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much what this game looks like. It's like everything's made of like cubes. Like even the player characters look like super blocky like cubes.
So it's third-person shooter concept.
Yeah, pretty much.
They stole our idea.
Yeah. All they need is a hint of orange and
little orange highlight on it, and it'll be in one of our concept games. Okay, so it's called Minimum.
I just spot it and thought, well, that looks, someone's trying to do arena shooters again. So let's have a look at how this turns out.
Well, maybe we'll have a renaissance spot with Unreal Tournament.
Yeah. But then again, a lot of people have been saying, like, we might as well jump to the other, like, big Gamescom news, I guess, which was, like, Call of Duty, like, revealed how its multiplayer is going to work.
Okay.
And a lot of people have actually been saying, it's like, what with the new movement capabilities of the exosuit? It's like, actually, are they moving back towards the UT style craziness? It's like, is the ability to like dodge side to side like you can in the Titans, I suppose, in Titanfall, but with your exosuit, kind of reminiscent of the double tap dodges in
the classic UT double tap.
And you get double jump, but you also get that in Titanfall. It's like, is UT coming back around, but disguised by Titanfall and Call of Duty?
Well, it's no bad thing.
No, it's not.
Kind of cool. Maybe it is. Yeah.
I don't know. The Call of Duty stuff looks pretty interesting. They're definitely mixing it up this year, which is always nice.
Yeah, that's cool because it's basically a new to Call of Duty kind of studio. Well, not new, but new first game, totally their own, right?
Yeah. They've worked on it on Call of Duty games before, but this is the first time that they've had the helm, and it's obvious they want to make an impression. and they're going out there saying, "Well, this is what we think would be cool." So, like the new sort of major thing that everyone's sort of talking about is how the new loadout system really works, and it's like, Ghosts came back and sort of reverted things to how Call of Duty used to do things after Black Ops kind of changed things up with its pick 10 system. To say you can have any combination of everything you want as long as it all adds up to 10. And it's like, so this time they've gone with pick 13 because there's more stuff to customize. So it's like, and the reason being is like kill streaks, like that mainstay, which used to be like, something you could just have of. Like, even in Black Ops 2, it was like you had 3 kill streaks at your disposal at all times, and they didn't count towards the pick 10. It's like, now they count. So if you don't want kill streaks, or you're not good at getting kill streaks before dying, don't pick them. Pick better weapon upgrades or perks or stuff like that. So the whole streak system is now optional, I suppose.
Interesting. But I presume they'll be so powerful enough for people that, can get kill streaks.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of the thing with kill streaks sort of is that, you could build up kill streaks and then you could get close to your next kill streak through the result of the first one and stuff like that.
Start sort of chaining them.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan with them. So it's still, it's probably still a viable tactic, but for people like me who rarely get anywhere near their third tier kill streak, that it's you might as well turn that one off, I guess, and put it into another gun attachment or something.
Yeah, pick something else that'll make you more lethal.
Yeah, and they were showing off other things like you can get there's a cool looking heavy exosuit that basically puts you're carrying 2 heavy weapons instead of having grenades, I guess, and some of the other abilities you can't be super accurate, but you just have a ton of firepower on your hands, and you can plant yourself so you can't move, but your guns become more accurate or something as well. So it's there's all kinds of weird shit going on.
So that's just like Monday Night Combat.
Monday Night Combat's tech, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Or the heavy can do that.
It's pretty heavy, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's starting to look interesting. And the weird sort of basketball mode that no one except people on comment threads that I've been reading remembers that. Do you remember Bombing Run from UT 2004? That skanky game type.
Yeah.
Not really.
It's kind of poopy.
It's kind of one bomb, isn't it? Really, but it just keeps going. It's like Halo's one bomb, where there's a ball, and you have to take it to your opponent's basket. Essentially, everyone's likening it to basketball, and you can either throw the ball in the basket for 1 point, or you can jump into the basket yourself, carrying the ball for 2 points.
Which was what you always did because there was no reason not to.
Yeah. By the time you got there, you might as well do it. You could probably miss with a throw quite easily.
Yeah.
So that mode is back, and everyone's saying, "Yeah, it's really fun." And then everyone noticed it was from UT, and it's like, "It wasn't really that fun in UT."
Always look back to your forebears.
Yeah, that's why it's not been around. But I don't know. Maybe they've done something to it. Maybe it works now. I don't know. It's weird. Don't know. But yeah, it looks interesting. I'm excited. They showed some more gameplay from the single player as well, with a section on the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's like. Right. I think we've talked about this before, right? But when bridges blow up, how is this supposed to work? Because they have a section in the video where some drones come out and they basically cut the suspending cables.
Oh, my favourite thing to be annoyed about.
Yeah.
They don't
cut the main. They don't cut the main cable.
Okay.
They cut the big fat ones. They cut the ones that hang vertically down from it and connect the road to the main cable.
Yeah. Okay.
So that those blow up and a bomb goes off in the middle.
Okay.
So what's supposed to happen? So this thing's just the road just crumbled in the middle and left a gap. But would that be put too much strain on the cables that didn't get blown up, and the whole thing sort of just disintegrates?
So
or is
the main,
it possible
the main
for this
cables
thing
didn't
to
actually snap in the middle when the bomb went off in the middle?
No, the top ones, the ones that make the U shape. They're still there.
They're still there.
It's like the cables on which the road are suspended from.
So, because usually on a lot of suspension bridges, the U-shaped one, the bottom of the U pretty much meets the roadway in the middle, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's close enough to that point.
Oh, right.
It's I think it's off to one side, so the main cable itself remains intact.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
and then they cut most of the
vertical
the
cables.
vertical cables. Well, if you cut that, you wouldn't need a bomb in the middle. If you just cut the vertical cables, the roadway would just fall down, wouldn't it? Leaving the U
Yeah.
just hanging there. It would just fall down flat, right?
Yeah, but I was like wondering, like, if they do that, then does it create like a ripple effect and the whole road just goes and the other cables snap as it goes? Or
You could probably get bits of roadway hanging from those vertical cables.
yeah. So maybe it's okay. Maybe this one passes the suspension bridge test.
That one might be better. I mean, my main gripe is when they cut the main cable and then they have like parts of the bridge still standing. Which is
Like
making
X-Men 3.
Yeah, exactly. It's my particularly grievous one. And my favourite one is that one because I always imagine that because Magneto moves the entire bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, so that it's between the city and Alcatraz. And then I imagine he has to spend the entire subsequent fight holding it up with his mind while he's doing all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would just go splosh.
They just go floop. Yeah, makes no sense. But I think there's plenty of that. I think the intro for Vanquish might do that as well,
Oh, right. Yeah.
where it's like still sort of standing afterwards.
Well, it's common in kind of post-apocalyptic like artwork of like Fallout-style artwork or whatever.
Yeah.
Where you just see part of the bridge.
There's that bit towards the end of iRobot where they're in the container park, but there's like that quarter of a suspension bridge where it's just like one of the pillars, but it has like half off each side of the pillar.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I think it was in. I think it was in the Dark Knight Rises as well. I think.
Do they assume that when the cable stops at the pillars rather than being one cable? Like, so it goes
I don't know
up
what
to
the mistake they're making is, but it's pretty dumb. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the mistake is like assuming that instead of the U shape, it's assuming that half of the U shape works as a triangle to support the road sticking out.
Which it doesn't.
Right. Yeah, I see your point. That those vertical cables are actually like solid.
Well, the angle, like if the U worked as an actual supporting structure rather than a suspending structure. That's how it works. You need the tension at both ends, not just one end.
True. Obviously, there's no tension.
No.
You're just pulling a cable, like limp along the floor.
I wonder if like if you were in a really low gravity environment or something, so that it didn't fall really quickly, whether that would actually work if you cut a suspension bridge in half. Whether the road would like angle downwards until the U shape got taut and became a triangle.
What, and assuming, because of course the roadway is kind of held up at the pillar, potentially. I don't know if they are though. Are they? Are they actually held up at the pillar in a real bridge?
What sort of design the suspension bridge is, like whether it has road on the other side of the pillar or whatever, or suspension on the other side of the pillar.
Yeah. I guess
it probably has road on the other side of the pillar.
I'd imagine they would fix it. I don't know. That just sounds like something. Well, we've got this giant pillar here. We might as well attach the road to it as well.
Yeah. Don't know.
Because that's how all engineering works. It's just like, I might as well attach this.
Where's the Kerbal Space Program? It's like add more struts.
Yeah.
Attach everything to everything else.
Or like the Bridget or whatever. What's the game?
That's it.
That game comes around again and again. I saw a quick look of it recently.
Well, it's because they remade it.
Oh, did they? Okay. Is it the same people or is it the same thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same people. That's all they do is make bridge simulators.
Oh, right, okay. How many trucks can you get over this thing?
John Romero's back in games.
Oh, God.
Maybe.
Last one he made was terrible.
Apparently he's working on a shooter.
Last shooter he made was terrible.
Yep. But, John Romero's back.
Woo.
That was minor news. Maybe he's working on Oculus, I don't know. Maybe
That
him
would
and
be
Carmack
really
are still friends.
hilarious.
What else we got? Let's talk more Gamescom stuff.
Cool.
Microsoft outlined some details about what's coming up in the new Xbox dashboard updates.
Oh, yeah?
Some of it looks kind of odd, and some of it is real nice. So, like, Let's start with the nice things. They have just outright said that they're now going to be supporting DLNA in the next few months.
Okay.
It's like, holy fucking shit, it's about goddamn time. But they also added to that they will be supporting more formats than ever before, including the much pirate happy MKV format. But then I suppose
Hooray.
MKVs also come from people legitimately ripping DVDs because it has all the sub tracks and stuff on as well. But
Everyone's favorite container.
yeah, so MKV is being supported along with some other ones like M2TS or something. So like MP2 transport stream formats will be supported. And it's like, does that mean like if you hacked your Skybox or something and took all the streams that you recorded off TV and just stored them to a file? Because most of those are like transport stream variants. Then your Xbox will now play those.
That'd be cool.
I don't know. Well, yeah, kind of weird. But yeah, they're doing that, and that's nice. It's like the sooner they do that, the better.
So
They
you
also
use
said-
the Xbox to play like ripped
Yeah,
DVDs.
I won't have to get the
legitimately
PS.
ripped DVDs.
I won't have to get the PS3 out, like, and stream stuff to it. It's a bit of a pain. It's like I tried using like even on formats that the Xbox One does support. It turns out I can't use the Play 2 stuff that you're supposed to use on your PC if that file isn't local. So like, if I go to my NAS and pick up a file that can be played to the Xbox, it won't work. It'll send the request, but then nothing will happen. It's like the Xbox just can't access that file.
Right.
Which actually is probably accurate because my NAS is passworded and the Xbox doesn't ask for the password. So, you know.
But can you input it? Is there any way to get to it?
Well, I've been dragging stuff onto the local machine and then
that's
using Play
unfortunate.
2, and then that then works. So hopefully with DLNA, obviously my NAS like has a DLNA server on it, and it's then that becomes no longer a problem because I should just be able to browse it from the Xbox.
Hmm.
Problem solved. So yeah, hopefully that will be nice. No need for PlayStation Media Server to transcode it if it can read MKVs. So awesome. Yeah, there's that. And the other sort of super awesome idea that they've had is like, hey guys, like we've got this TV signal coming into our Xbox. What can we do with this? So they're letting you, presumably through the Smart Glass app, stream it to devices in your house, even if someone is using the Xbox for other things, like games.
Ah.
And that's kind of neat. So that means I could be like shooting guys in Plants vs. Zombies while Gnome is watching Live Sky elsewhere in the house. Like without needing anything fancy on the Skybox, without needing to attempt to get Sky Go to be anything useful.
So what could you stream it to?
Basically any mobile device. They're supporting Windows Phone, they're supporting Android, they're supporting iOS.
Okay.
So presumably they'll be doing it through the Smart Glass app, will be my guess.
Right, that would make sense, yeah. That would make it more useful.
But it's a cool idea.
So when's that? Is that coming soon, or is that going to be
again in this nebulous in the next few months thing? That was what they were touting. So presumably that means by the end of the year, I guess, because by that point you're getting over 4 months, which might not be considered a few anymore. I don't know. But it's cool that it's coming, and because they can use the IR blaster on the Kinect, if you have one of those rigged up to your Sky, you'll be able to change the channel from like,
the
elsewhere
app
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, it's neat. It's neat. So other things they're adding is like they're trying to deal with Snap and make Snap somewhat more useful.
Oh god. So fucking useless.
So they're changing the behavior of the double tap on the Xbox button, which is currently swapped between your main view and your Snap view.
Right.
They're changing it so if you double tap now, you'll get a little radial menu, except it's not a radial menu because it's made out of squares, but it's like in the 4 compass directions with options in it on where to go. So like, so in theory, that means you always have quick access to your party view or something because you'll bring it up and one of the options will be take me to the party or something.
Take me to the party.
So they did liken it, like when they were talking about it. It's like, yeah, we want to try and bring some of the functionality of the old guide into this, and it's like, well, is that you admitting that the new design doesn't really work as well as having the Xbox guide?
Well, the history of the Xbox One has been them gradually admitting that everything was a bad idea and fixing it.
Well, not everything was a bad idea. Like, that's the thing. Things like voice navigation on the Kinect was a good idea. It works well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Snap, not so much. Like, I can see their thinking, but it's just not been executed well enough for it to be super useful. Like, things take too long to snap is my biggest problem.
Oh,
like,
really?
Snap your friends list, and it's like the snap appears, but then the app has to load.
Right.
In which your friends list will be, rather than it being immediately available. It's things like that they need to work on. Like,
so the concept itself is fairly sound for that. Like,
yeah, I don't have so much. I don't have so much of a problem with the snapping. It's just like, yes, things seem to take too long to swap to bring things up and to swap them out. It's certain inbuilt apps should perhaps always be running, and just so they can be instant. Something like that. It's like they added the achievement snap recently, which I think is cool, because if you say, like, hit the achievements button in a game now, that link takes you to the snapped version of achievements rather than going to the full screen version.
Right, so it keeps you in the where you are. Yeah,
and that's the definite improvement, because it makes it's just easier to see. And they sort of originally advertised it as, you can have because the achievements will track progress to achievements now, kind of like how Steam does. You could have the achievement bar open and it will be live updating your progress to achievements. If you really cared that much.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the sort of thinking about it is I guess what the message is here. And they've definitely gone through more iterations of trying to improve all this than PlayStation has. Like, PS4 apparently has done nothing. Like, they moved an indicator from one half of the screen to another or something, and that's been pretty much it. I mean, Sony did promise to add 3D Blu-ray support to the PS4, which Xbox just added.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's in the August update. Like, you can now play 3D Blu-rays, and there's now a notification when your controller is about to run out of power, that kind of stuff. So, so Sony are sort of listening and making sort of vague promises to say, oh yeah, we should do that too. But
yeah, it
definitely feels like Microsoft are putting the effort in here.
That's kind of, I mean, I don't know. PS4 kind of made a big effort to try and do, something closer, but Microsoft have always been kind of the leaders on the dashboard side of things. Definitely. I mean, look at their 360s, had various iterations, didn't it? And it got better and better, really.
Once it's out, Microsoft do a much better job of supporting the platform, I think. So keep it modern.
So that's cool. I think that's what's going on here, hopefully. But they did make some mistakes at the start, but they're sort of rectifying them. Cool.
I mean, that's, they tried something. I guess with a new console, they have the ability to try something drastic.
Yeah.
And they did, and now they're just refining it. Yeah, so that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, good news. So let's stay on the Microsoft front, shall we?
Okay. I saw
during their press.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you want to talk Forza.
Well, I just saw a couple of videos of it, and it looks freaking great, and I'm kind of annoyed because it's almost like, I don't know if it's quite Burnout 3 kind of level, but I mean, Zach bought an Xbox just to play Burnout 3, I think, to remember.
Is that the sole reason, Zach? Days gone by?
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm thinking, God damn it! It's like, I think on balance, the PS4 looks better in a lot of ways. Like, and I quite like the look of the controller as well on the PS4 and stuff, and I like their attitude and everything. And all of these problems with it was always quite nice having the console that would run the multi-platform game a little bit faster or whatever. So in this case, it would probably be the PS4. But God damn it, Forza Horizon 2 is probably the only game I really want to play on a next-gen console right now.
Yeah. So here's the thing, really, to put that into context, like, I don't really have much Sony news, like, because I don't think any of it was really that interesting.
No. Well, I quite like to play, I mean, you've already played it, but I wouldn't mind playing The Last of Us, remastered or whatever.
Oh, sure. But, that's last year's game remade less than a year later.
Oh, totally, yeah. But for me, it's like thinking of games I want to play, like, right this minute.
Yeah.
Then that would be one.
Yeah, I mean, what else would you go for right now? It's like Infamous, maybe. Assassin's Creed 4. Apparently,
Yeah,
that's the
well, I
best
wanted
version of the game.
that Metal Gear game and the actual finished one when it comes, because that looked quite
when
good.
MGS5 comes out, the PS4 version may be the one to get. Although they've announced there's a Steam version coming.
Yeah, we just heard there's a Steam version, which kind of nullifies that for me, because I'd definitely rather play it on PC, I think.
Well, it depends if your system will be good enough by then. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the case, isn't it? Maybe spend the money on a upgraded PC. But
I'm not sure I've played any games that consider themselves part of the next gen, apart from Titanfall, I guess. Like on my PC since that whole thing happened. Like, I don't think I've played many like new PC games.
And you hadn't actually played Titanfall, really, because it was still
true. That was the beta. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping Creed Unity will be on PC as well.
Although there is a 48-hour trial of Titanfall that you can claim now.
Can you still claim that now?
Yeah, apparently it's still running.
Because I logged into Origin the other day and it was like Plants vs. Zombies trial.
Oh, is that the new one? Oh, maybe they've moved on.
Well, I assume they change that every however long they've been doing that. They changed like the free game as well, like every couple of weeks or whatever.
I'm sort of tempted to see what the PC version of PvZ looks like.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it will look exactly the same.
Well, but maybe we could get you into it.
You should play the Trial of Titanfall, but then you won't get into that.
Well, I could get... No, I liked...
No, you could get into that. I mean, you'd like the game. I mean, you just won't get it.
Well, maybe. Well, it depends on, like, more things for us to play other than Team Fortress is always a bonus, to be honest. It's like we haven't found a game that we've got into for a while, really, apart from Guild Wars, I guess. Was Guild Wars the most recent thing that we've got into?
Maybe.
Multiplayer-wise? As a pair?
I noticed that. It's a bit I don't know what to... to play with you guys other than TF2.
Yeah.
Because there was theoretically Battlefield 4, theoretically.
You don't log into Steam very often, so it's hard to...
Well, I do log in, but I don't use the friends item. I have that turned off.
Oh,
but
right. You should raise yourself more often and we'll play a game. Come on.
Yeah, what we can play, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. We could do TF. We could... yeah. Maybe we need to find smaller games that aren't like breaking anyone's bank.
That's what TF's for, though. That's the smallest game.
Like Awesome Knots.
No,
it could be a 3-man team.
I just want to play Monday Night Combat again. Boo.
Yeah. Still sad. We could try Super Monday Night Combat again.
That's a different game, though.
Yeah. Yeah. What else we got? So yeah, Forza 2 it does look awesome. I'm pretty into that. Problem is I think it comes. I forget when its release window is. It's like, is it October?
Yeah, I think so.
So I was looking at what the release windows for like the various games coming up are, like thinking how I need to prioritize myself for Game of the Year stuff, because it's like I'm not going to be able to afford all of these because there's a ton of like stuff I'm interested in coming out on Xbone.
No, hold on, 30th of September, so right at the end of September.
Okay. So what, we've got Destiny and Forza in September then?
Yeah.
Although it's so close to being released in October, I'm going to call Forza October.
Okay.
Destiny might as well almost be August.
Yeah. It's the same, well, except we're nearly out of August, so yeah. Anyway, so there's that. And then you got Sunset Overdrive, COD, and the Halo collection in November.
Well, the Halo collection, you don't need that to Game of the Year because
no, that can probably be the one that waits. It's like, as much as I'm chomping at the bit to play me some Halo 2 multiplayer,
just because you want me to actually play Halo again.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I refuse until we have the new version of Halo 1, and then we'll be good.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy us playing like co-op Halo. It's awesome.
But you do have the version of Halo 1, right? I thought you
but the Xbone one will be even better. It'll be like
right,
60.
And 2, obviously.
Yeah.
The new version of 2.
So, yeah, it's quite busy. Like, well, I don't know which... I will probably end up bailing on Halo and maybe Forza and maybe Sunset Overdrive. Although I'm sort of interested in that, but I'm going to get dragged into the COD frenzy. I know it.
Right, so it's mainly going to be COD-based, is it? COD-based Christmas.
Probably. Well, you know, I'll like Kippers will ring me up saying, "You come to the launch
Come to
thing."
the midnight launch for some goddamn reason. Although maybe not. Maybe Kippers has finally cured his COD addiction by playing Counter-Strike now.
Well, he has a way of using actually it works out better for him in a lot of cases to go digital now because him and Jeremy both have Xboxes and you can use the family sharing to
gym it.
Sort of, yeah.
He's been playing Counter-Strike like non-stop recently.
Yeah.
So maybe he's moved his shooter of choice. Although
no, he'll go back.
If he finally learns to play shooters on PC, maybe he'll be better at Team Fortress. Maybe we can convince him to get in there as well.
I know. But it's a very different sort of shooter, isn't it, TF? It's like you don't necessarily need the super pinpoint accuracy that you need for most sort of real gun-based shooters.
I'm not sure you necessarily need it for Counter-Strike, really. I mean, Counter-Strike is a very weird...
its aim has always been weird, yeah.
Yeah, the whole way that game works is like completely different from practically everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe anyway. Multiplayer shooters. Stuff happens. So yeah, I don't know. I'll work that out as I go. Because I'm supposed to be saving money, but that hasn't happened really this month. But stupid car tires.
What's wrong with your goddamn cars? All the time.
It's been 3 years old, man. The tires are worn. Mate, that shit happens.
Sure.
What else we got? Microsoft news. Let's stay on the Microsoft news. We talked about Halo there.
This is Microsoft news. Tomb Raider.
Okay, we'll do that. Tomb Raider. Yeah. They've announced that it's exclusive and not console exclusive. They used the word just exclusive on its own to the Xbone.
And then immediately backtracked.
Tell us more.
Well, immediately after that thing was posted and everyone went ballistic about it, they were like, no, we meant timed exclusive. Because of course they did. I wouldn't be so surprised about it being console exclusive to Xbox. I would have been more surprised had they not made a PC version after the amount of effort they actually put into the PC version of... Well, that's why everyone's still pissed about it being any kind of exclusive, because it's like Tomb Raider is a PlayStation game, but basically, historically.
Kinda, yeah.
So everyone's pissed that it's even got any exclusivity at all, and particularly to Xbox.
Yeah.
And also because it's basically the second part of a trilogy. So you've already had the first part, and now it's like, no, you can't play the second part, fuck you.
Yeah. I don't know what everyone's deal is. I guess people are really into Tomb Raider still. Yeah. It's I didn't think that would be much of an issue, but then you're right, everything blew up.
Do you think they're angry about Tomb Raider or just the general trend? Not that it's a trend anymore.
What, of third parties going exclusive?
Well, it's both. I mean, there's bound to be some people who are like, I don't like this just because of the exclusiveness, not because of...
But then Square have a history of always being exclusive to... I mean, yeah, it's technically the remains of Eidos. Who is it, Crystal Dynamics?
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, you could argue that it's not Square being exclusive, it's Eidos going exclusive, but... Square have a history of being all PlayStation all the time.
Yeah, that's why all the PlayStation people are pissed.
Yeah.
But then the other
But then that just means they're not exactly against the idea of exclusivity, because that's what Square have done.
Well, everyone is not against the idea of exclusivity when it's on your system.
Or someone's going to pay you bucks to put it there.
But then the other dumb thing that is obviously more legitimately weird about this, and less dumb wording and pissing everyone off, is that just Square, I think it was, or maybe it was just Eidos or Crystal or whatever, came out and said that they thought that the reboot of Tomb Raider was a failure sales-wise, despite how much money it turned out making.
Yeah, they said that. It sold tons.
Yeah. But now they're like, so what we're going to do is make it so not as many people can buy it immediately. Because obviously that's going to help sales somehow. Or otherwise known as Microsoft gave us enough money to offset that delayed sales front, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the fact that it is timed is okay, surely, because that just means Square have taken money for
Yeah,
something that the PlayStation owners will probably end up with an improved version of because of the delay.
Yeah, but that might. So there's still that's still going to kill some percentage of sales.
Maybe. I mean,
just
yeah,
for people who
you lose some hype. I guess.
who aren't paying attention.
Yeah. But then, natural rules for people in our position still apply. Wait for the PC version.
That's because we have PCs. Because we're the master race. As always.
With that awesome, crazy hair.
Yep. Not so much from Rob, though. He had a haircut quite recently.
Yeah. I'm working on it. Naturally.
Literally.
I can't play Forza Horizon 2 on my
So you're
PC.
literally working on it naturally.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's been one of those things. I've said this multiple times. I wish Forza was on PC. It would be
amazing.
No,
That's
you don't,
not-
because then you...
I'd get my wheel out.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you don't want it on PC, because it's actually a lot of hassle.
Well, yeah, in fairness, I haven't played Dirt 3 in ages. I still haven't... I'm not even close to finishing that. But...
Because playing with wheel is harder. Everyone knows.
Yeah, but it's more fun. It's a lot more fun. I would love to play Forza with a wheel. It's just one of those, that right level of simulation where I think I would have a good time with it. And I did used to really enjoy Forza 2 on my ridiculous Xbox wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that thing not work with them? The Xbox One, I suppose.
Well,
not.
no, because it's a 360 wheel.
Right,
Of course, it doesn't work. It's like you
Yeah.
can just about make them work with a PC if you have one of the wireless adapters. But,
Right.
but fuck that shit. I still have my Sidewinder. So, is it Sidewinder?
Yeah.
I can't believe
it's a
that
Sidewinder.
thing is still working and still wrestling with you,
It's still perfect.
Well, sort of.
What do you mean, sort of? It
Well,
works.
getting force feedback to work any longer is a bit of a hassle in some cases.
Well, the things I play, I don't have a problem. It's like you can just plug it into Windows now, and Windows go, yeah, that's a Sidewinder, and it knows what to do. It's like it's got easy. Somehow, someone has supported this, so it's better now.
Like force feedback settings, it's just like the weird. It's like
Oh yeah, you still have to
sometimes games
tinker with
don't even
those.
bother. And
Yeah,
then you're like, what can I do about this?
I always have to mess with Dirts, and Dirt does have a tendency of forgetting that the wheel exists, so I have to reconfigure how I like it frequently,
Right.
which is quite irritating. But it's there, and actually the Dirt support is really good.
Well, yeah, Dirt was probably one of the last games that really had force feedback support, I suppose.
Has
I
it?
bet not very many games do it any longer.
Yeah, I wonder about games like Assetto Corsa and Project Cars and all these new ones that are going to be coming to PC, whether they'll go whole hog on it. Presumably those two that I mentioned probably will, because they're gunning for simulation.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Someone needs to invent a better version of force feedback at this point, really. Because that is super old tech.
what else could you do?
Well, I'm sure there must be a better way of. It must. It probably wouldn't appear any different to you, but there must be a better way of doing it internally by this point, surely.
Oh, yeah,
Some
maybe.
mechanical method
Yeah.
that actually improves the way it directs the force onto the wheel.
Yeah, the motors are probably a lot better now or something. Magnets.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing I miss from my Sidewinder is the lack of a D-pad. So, when I navigate menus, I have to reach round it to a keyboard or something.
Yeah, I guess.
And
But now you could theoretically just have a gamepad and put it on your lap or something.
that's- you probably
Or
could.
just tape it to the steering wheel.
Yeah, that could be funny. Yeah, so there's minor inconveniences, but it's still a very good wheel. Oh, and my pedals squeak like a bastard.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
probably the biggest problem with the Sidewinder. Even almost immediately, it was just hella squeaky.
And yeah, they are plastic, which is, I suppose, a problem rather than nice chunky metal pedals. But it's the layout of my room at the moment actually makes it somewhat convenient to do, because I've got a chair on wheels on a hardwood surface, so
Yeah.
it's easy to push myself away from the desk, but I can move my couch so it's resting
Wedges
against the
it.
back of the chair, so I'm wedged in position, and it's quite nice.
That doesn't stop the pedals sliding around, though. That's the other problem.
Well, no, but they sort of wedge against
They
my
wedge against your huge pile
massive
of
cables,
wires.
and if I get really desperate, I can move the subwoofer so it's in the way.
Just jam yourself in there.
Yeah, basically, just wedge everything into a certain position and it's fine.
How do you deal with your desk thickness? Because that's my problem.
No, mine just mounts fine.
Because my one,
I don't have the pad anymore, but like the ball is enough to just push into the.
My one,
surface.
I couldn't get it tight enough, like even wound all the way in, it wouldn't actually grip onto a thin desk, which is why I have that chunk of wood.
Yeah, mine's all
that's in the
right.
sidewinder on.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, mine's all right. Still don't have a problem with the grip.
That's another thing they could improve mechanically, the clamping mechanism.
No one's making these decent controllers, though. I mean, Microsoft aren't making them.
Well, no one officially. Well,
Logitech.
must
I
still
looked on the
exist, though,
Logitech site the other day. Like, there's no good, like, freaking. There's a
they
wheel.
must still
I
exist
suppose.
though, because people still make these ridiculous like car seat setups.
They make ridiculously
Yeah, but
expensive
they're like
controllers
expensive
that you would
proper
want.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there's no like I don't know entry grade steering wheels anymore, unless you go console. Because like I think there was all Logitech stuff when they were doing the last Gran Turismo demos.
We're using the Logitech, like they've got.
PS3
I'm looking now.
wheels.
They've got like a Gran Turismo branded one. But it
Yeah, I
doesn't
think when whenever Sony demoed it, they had booths set up where you'd use the wheels properly.
doesn't look nearly as good as a Sidewinder.
It's the kind of Sidewinder's super comfy. It's like weird rubber stuff.
Is that super comfy?
Compared to most other steering wheels you get, the Xbox one wasn't bad. In fairness, the 360 one was pretty good.
Yeah, that was okay. Maybe they'll do another one, although probably
And
not.
you can, as I said, you can make the 360 one work on PCs. You just need to have one of those wireless adapters. But
Yeah, I've got one of those. But nothing.
as I said, mine didn't
that
get much
whole
use once I
range
got bored of Forza.
that whole range of Sidewinder peripherals was pretty cool. I love that joystick. That thing was great. The 3D Pro thing.
Till you couldn't turn left.
Yeah, until I couldn't turn left. Because the one that you've got, what is that? The joystick that I
Oh, what the one you've lent me?
yeah. Because my problem with that is it's too big, and the pit and the throttle is in horrible place.
A Cytec Cyborg Evo.
Yeah, there you go. It's a Cytec. It's just I want
That way around.
I want one that's a little smaller and that I don't know doesn't have so much play in it.
It does move a long way, doesn't
Yeah, it's too extreme. I need something a little small. Like that. The 3D Pro was perfect. They got bigger though. Like there were later Sidewinder ones. Didn't you have a later Sidewinder one, Zach? That was like a force feedback
No, I think
one?
I had.
they did the.
I had the very slightly newer version that you had.
Yeah,
Right.
yours were pretty much identical to me.
Yeah,
It's like I saw the one that had force feedback, and that was enormous.
Yeah,
It had like a cooling fan for the fucking motors in it.
yeah. It's ridiculous. Too big. They need to be this little joystick.
I mean, I do quite like your Cytec. I've got to be honest. I mean, I'm not so impressed with the throttle, but
the throttle's terrible, and I don't really like the trigger on it either.
Yeah.
it's fun to try. It's fun trying to play Battlefield 4 with it. I mean, I suck at it, but it's a lot of fun.
I think I'd rather have my 3D Pro for playing because I'm thinking about it because
Just get Fury out again. Play
for
that.
Elite Dangerous, and
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
maybe Star Citizen or the Last Starfighter. Oh no, what's it called? What's the
PC version of No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky and Enemy Starfighter? That's what it is. Anyway, there's a bunch of space things coming, and Elite Dangerous looks cool. Damn it! Need a joystick and a proper throttle.
Yeah, the throttle's always the worst. That's the hardest bit. There's something about the. It's like it was super loose, wasn't it, on the 3D Pro? But
Yeah, it was just like a little slot thing, but
but it was sort of okay because it sort of like you could slide it to where you wanted nice and easily, and it was not. You didn't have to move your hand away from any useful buttons.
And it didn't have any resistance to it either. That's the other thing that's weird about that Cytec joystick. Is it's quite.
Well,
it's not stiff. It's like metered.
Well, see, it's because it's at a weird angle, I suppose, because it's not flat to the thing. They probably had to put resistance on it to stop it just falling down.
Well, that's true. Yeah, because gravity would fuck that up.
Yeah. We should probably shit now. We're like nearly 2 hours in. We're still in news. Come on, let's do
Okay.
this.
It's your fault. I told you. We should
It's
just
my fault.
We should just shit through this.
It's my fault.
Okay, guys, what you been playing? Come on.
Oh, hang on.
We're not done with
There's
news.
more.
Like,
There's
there's
more.
tons left.
So
Oh Jesus!
I'll leave that one to last because that segues from what I've been playing.
Okay.
This is the dumbest news ever, but Plants vs. Zombies is getting another update featuring Chester Cheetah of Cheetos fame.
That's not the dumbest.
It's pretty
The
dumb.
Mercedes-Benz America was the dumbest.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Jeez. That's actually coming now. That's not just a Japan only thing. That will be coming to US and Europe. So yeah, get your Mercedes-Benz karts in. It's like I played that like a couple of weeks ago, like Mario Kart in a multiplayer setup with my crew from Cambridge, and they like one of them is like he'll know exactly who he is if he listens. It's like he's so black and white about his tastes in video games,
Right.
and it's like as soon as he saw the kart selection screen and he was like, "What is this shit?" It's like, and immediately the game was dead to him.
Okay.
Like, it's just too much option. This is not what Mario Kart's about.
Too much option. I wouldn't have thought that would have been the problem, really.
What, you mean there'd be more problems? But the racing's fine. It's like, it's Mario Kart.
Well,
There's nothing wrong with the racing.
The amount of selection is almost entirely pointless, really. Like, it's such minor changes.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, you can make some vehicles, like, especially if you're one of the heavy characters, that are kind of difficult to use.
Yes, like Rick seems to manage to do every time. He just makes somehow the combination of things he creates.
I can't remember what the combo was, but he did it, and it's like, this is really hard. And I'm like, yeah, bullshit. Like, so I try, and it's like, oh, actually, this is kind of tricky.
Yeah.
That game has more depth than maybe we gave it credit for them, like, because of that, I guess. But
Not really, though, because it's like you don't actually want any of these weird... It's like...
yeah, I do.
Yeah, but you don't...
I want to be able to make something that's stupid.
Yeah, but there's no actual benefit over the regular cart. You'll do better with a regular cart that you can actually control in the normal way.
I want something that encourages me to experiment. That's like why F-Zero AX, not AX, GX, that ship customization mode kept me for much longer than it deserved to.
Yeah, but that won't happen in Mario Kart because it's not really the same style of... It's like in Mario... There's no... Even though in theory they could have done it for Mario Kart, where it's like make the off-road actually matter, like how they used to try to do sort of, where like the off-road stats
would be how much you wouldn't lose so much speed taking shortcuts.
Yeah, but it's like they could have done that, but they didn't really.
No.
Basically, you have to use a boost to go over the shortcuts if it's an off-road one.
Yeah, but then
you just stop.
But then I showed him. We actually got around to playing some multiplayer. Sonic Transformed,
right?
Which, as it turns out, is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Like the actual main racing, the battle modes seemed kind of shit.
Yeah,
but
naturally,
I've never been a huge fan of the battle modes, except the N64 one, which is classic.
Yeah.
But that played quite well, and he was like, "No, this is no good." And I'm like, "Why? This is like
no customization in that one."
Like the thing he had a problem there is that, well, actually, no, I kind of agree with him on this one. It's still weird that game has power-ups that aren't really themed to anything Sega, like fireworks and whirlwinds and
but
blowfish. Where the fuck is the blowfish come
There's
from?
not really anything in Sega that you can theme it to.
Like, well, they sort of did with the first Sonic Racing. Like the dumbfire things would be boxing gloves. Actually, from Ready to Rumble, I think.
That's a bit of a stretch, really.
Maybe. But they had, like, springs and...
Well, the spring is, like, the one.
Yeah. Actually, I can't really remember. But they were slightly more themed.
What would you use as a homing missile that's themed on the Sega universe?
More Sonics.
Just fire Sonics at people.
Yeah. Shit, I've done it again.
Yeah.
PlayStation Home is being officially closed in March.
Maybe they'll make a new version.
Really?
Yeah,
Did it ever come out of beta, actually?
I don't know.
I forget whether it did or not.
But yeah, it's been alive this long, and they're finally deciding to kill it.
You've written PlayStation Who?
I have, yeah.
After all that, can you get into it on PS4?
I don't think so. I think it only
PS3
ever
thing.
came out on the 3, yeah.
Makes sense. You should go into it and see what's going on in that weirdness.
All they need to do...
All we need to do is make sure that the option so you can make your top half dance a different dance to your bottom half still exists.
Yeah, that definitely needs
That
to
was
exist.
the best thing.
It's like all the Second Life people need to do to make an infinite amount of money is basically make Second Life accessible via an HTML5 web browser, and then they can just port it to every console.
That's true. I don't know what like capability the new consoles have for like allowing controller support in their browsers. That must be something they're thinking about.
Well, you'd hope, because otherwise those are just going to be dumb, useless browsers forever, like they always have been.
Yeah.
The web platform, HTML5 and JavaScript, which is what I write everything in, is terrible for games. It's not a good idea.
No.
JavaScript is a terrible idea for games. I mean, you can make 2048 or whatever, that's fine. But anything beyond that, I don't think it's a good idea. And I love JavaScript, but it's just that's not what it's for, damn it.
I was on the verge of starting to look at doing Unity programming. I was this close to doing it, and but this was at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then another 4 hours passed, and of course, like end of working day, it's like fuck programming.
Wait, I thought of a better idea. I thought of a way the Second Life people can make even more money much easier.
How's that?
Don't make it HTML5 command. We'll just make it so. Just do a deal with Sony to stream the video.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not like it needs to be. You're not doing anything that needs like high ping or low ping.
But you need Gaikai Second Life on PS4.
Yeah, they'd make so much money. Because it's basically home already.
And just they could have a PlayStation Home Island in Second Life, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then you
start everyone off there, and then if you go outside, you see what Second Life really is.
Did Second Life ever get superseded, or did they ever like improve it? Like, does it look like does it look modern now? Like, because it came out looking like garbage.
It's not like great. It's better.
Right. So then someone's still making it look.
Yeah, they're still working on it. Of course.
Okay.
They probably still make a shit ton of money.
You don't really hear much about Second Life.
Well, that's because everyone realised it was dumb. Yeah. There was that short period where everyone thought they were going to do virtual meetings.
Yeah, big retailers were like investing in giant Second Life stores.
But then they realised that the world is just full of an entire pile of dicks.
Yep.
And also penises.
And also, we're going to pervert town. So that should be cool. What else we got? Roller Coaster Tycoon World is a thing.
Not much to say about it.
No,
luckily.
Just it's a thing. Ninja Theory. Unfortunately, like just slightly disappointingly, they're not making a new DMC game. It's like it was revealed that they were working on 2 franchises, one of which never got picked up. I can't remember what it was called, but they will be making the design documents available to the public, so someone could try and make that game. But as it turns out, the one they did get green lighted on is something called Hellblade that looks a lot like Heavenly Sword.
Right.
It looks a lot like all the other games that they make.
Pretty much. But they are very good at character action games.
I guess.
Like DMC was sweet, and that's why I'm sort of disappointed that they're not just making DMC 2, because that game was so good. But yeah, I don't know. But Ninja Theory, I like those guys, so see where that goes. And then the last bit of news I have that will segue into what I've been playing quite nicely is that Super Time Force will be getting an Ultra Edition on Steam, which is, I don't know, sort of awesome because that game's pretty great. But
so it's got like TF2 characters in, right?
Yeah, it'll get like TF2 characters. It's getting like 50 new levels apparently, which I think is more levels than the base game has.
Well, they don't. Well, if we're talking about those levels that they showed in the video, they're clearly not like levels. They're like
challenging short ones.
They're not themed, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Or they're themed to virtual reality, I suppose.
Okay.
They're themed to a training simulator.
Well, fair enough, because there is a training simulator in the game that doesn't get used other than the training.
Right.
You never see it again once you've done that. So maybe they're just reusing that tile set for some stuff. So yeah, it's a little annoying because like this then starts asking the question like, well, what happens to Xbone users? It's like, do the early subscribers not get this content, or is it going to come out as DLC? I've seen a number of like somewhat angry responses to this, being like, "Yeah, that's cool. When am I going to get it?" type things. like they were talking about other weird stuff as well. Like they've done an entire second version of the soundtrack that only plays when the game is running in slow motion or something.
Right.
Which happens so like, I mean, you can make it happen like that, but like maybe it's like when you're in the time when time is stopped and you're rewinding the video or something, it plays a different version of that level's music. Or if it means when you pick up the slow power up, which only happens like a few times a level, and you don't hear it for very long at a time. It's like that's weird.
That's a lot of effort to go to.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe they'll put that on the soundtrack or something, sell that separately.
But, you know, more Super Time Force. So segueing into what I've been playing, that game is pretty awesome. And it's like, if one of the things they're adding in the Ultra mode is stuff like, I think the game would really benefit from sort of challenge-y type stuff. Because there are like a few achievements in the game where it's like, hey, do this level as the guy with a lightsaber, or do this guy as the walking turd called Squirty Harry. And like, I think it needs more of those, because those actually add a sort of element of an extra level of challenge to some of the levels, some of the gameplay. It's quite nice to sort of limit yourself like that. Because to be honest, most of the time when I'm playing through that, I sort of stick to the base characters that you get right at the start, because they're just the most useful.
Well, naturally.
Like, because Machine Gunner has the spread fire, and like Sniper can shoot through walls, and it's like you really only need those two for most of the game.
Well, that's because of because they're the non-unlockable characters. Like, you could theoretically not unlock most of the other characters.
Yeah, and the order in which you could get the other characters is like depends on which order you choose to go through the levels.
So obviously the base characters need to be good.
Yeah,
because otherwise you wouldn't be able to play the game.
Yeah, they're the most versatile, and so you use them all the time, which makes the others kind of not seen very often. I mean, I do use them. Like sometimes Merlin is quite useful for his like static charge, especially when you're doing boss fights, because his charge up power like fires a little ball that stays static for a while, so everything running through it gets hurt.
Yeah.
So on bosses, when like after you've run through it several times, the timing all gets kind of messed up. It's useful just to have these death zones planted about, because then things are guaranteed to get hurt if they pass through them. And it's yeah, like having more restrictions like that, I think is going to be a good thing. It'll extend that sort of puzzly element to the game I've sort of talked about before. But it's cool. Really enjoyed it. Finished it. I've 1,000 pointed it, so
Excellent.
there's still stuff. But there's still stuff to do. Like I haven't done the time challenges, and I haven't done the super hardcore mode that unlocks. Which actually sounds pretty cool as well. That sounds like a nice restriction that I might try out. In that
So
you can only
different?
Super hardcore mode forces you to only use every character once. So the more characters you have, obviously, the better you're going to be able to do this mode.
Out. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but you can only use each person once before you're screwed, which means the life count is considerably lower, basically, than what you'll actually have. But it sounds interesting. Might give that a try.
Cool.
Sounds hard.
It certainly does. Super Time Force.
Yeah, and that's all I've really got to say. I sort of recommend it, but maybe now don't get it and get the Steam version.
Yep.
When it comes out.
Yeah, get the awesome Steam version. All the extra shit.
I also technically finished Crimson Dragon. I've played through every mission on it now. And I only got caught up by the grind twice, I think, overall. There was one time where I couldn't get to a mission because I didn't have the right antibody, so I had to go back and play that mission once until I got it. And then it's like, oh, okay, now it'll let me in the next mission. And then I realised that my dragon just wasn't strong enough to be able to do this well. So I had to grind up its level for a bit. But so I don't find that criticism about how the game is structured to be that valid. Like, a lot of people talked about that when it got reviewed, but I don't think that's the problem. The problem is that the levels just aren't very interesting.
Right.
And the general presentation of the game isn't very good. It's like, for the money they're charging, I would expect a much higher quality product. It's like it's 16 quid, like, unless you get it on Games with Gold.
Yeah, it's just not good, right?
No, it doesn't. If it was like a $5, perhaps that's a justify. You wouldn't feel so bad. But if you bought it on launch, I think I'd feel a bit hard done by. it's just like towards the end you start unlocking more areas. Thankfully, after those like 3 or 4 that I talked about before, it's like, is this all there is? No, there are a few more areas. But one of them is like a sort of brown city of brown that's like covered in gun turrets that are randomly shooting all the time at like nothing, and like it's like, and the enemies some of the turrets will shoot at you, but it's hard to tell what those are because they're brown, and it's like it's just a clusterfuck of visual nonsense, and you can't see anything, and that sums up that game quite nicely, really. It's like actually flying around and being able to play the game is made somewhat difficult. Like, just hope that if you're using a ray weapon that which is the classic shooting mechanic from Panzer, like if that weapon locks onto stuff and you press fire, and like just hope for the best, is because you can't really see what the fuck's going on most of these levels. Or your own dragon will be in the way, or your wingman that you have to put in front of you in order for it to shoot things in front of you is taking up more of the view. So you can see a lot of your dragon and your wingman, but that's about it. It's like
helpful.
Yeah, it's just not a very well thought through game at all. It's like the free-to-play trappings aren't actually that bad, and the hiring wingman mechanic could have been somewhat interesting had more of my friends been playing it. But yeah, so I haven't done any of the multiplayer stuff, which is like co-op missions, but I'm in two minds about whether I should. A bit of me is just intrigued to see how that even works. But yeah, I think you can safely avoid this one. Like, if you need a dragon fix, just, get Panzer Orta. Play that.
Is that, you can play that on 360, right? Just about.
You can, but it does occasionally crash.
Right. I don't think it was the most stable.
No, I mean, the last time I tried playing it is I played through half the game, I think, and then it crashed. But the game is shit with auto-saving. So unless you quit out manually, it doesn't save.
Ah, okay.
So I lost all my progress.
Oh, you lost everything. Okay.
So it's like, I haven't gone back to it since. So I think if I was to go back to it, I should really get the original Xbox out where I had a lot more of the stuff unlocked,
Yep.
Although the progression in that game was like classic old school progression where you didn't really know what it was you were supposed to be doing to get more stuff.
Mm.
Like, you just sort of knew, well, maybe I should be doing better, but I'm not quite sure how to define better.
There was loads of unlockable crap in that.
Yeah, I think I only got a really small portion of it, of my time. And I played the original version, on the OG Xbox, tons.
Yeah, I played it quite a bit too.
Because it's a great fucking game. It's like, it does what Crimson Dragon doesn't very well, which is it makes every level interesting. Every level makes the world more interesting.
Hmm.
And the fact that you can fucking see the levels helps. And it's like every level is a different challenge, different thing to see, different enemies to kill. It's all unique, which is so not the case in this. You get probably about 8 levels in total with regurgitated content all of the time. So seriously, go play Panzer, or probably easier, go get a copy of Star Fox 64 on the 3DS.
Totally the same game.
It's on rail shooter, and they're the two of the best.
Play Res HD.
They probably are the 2 best.
Res is pretty good.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Don't forget about
How could I forget Res? Fuck Res. Fuck those two. Play Res.
Okay.
No, I don't know. Res is cool, but it's not the same because you can't move your ship. So it's
yeah, it's true.
It's Res is a very cool thing to behold, but mechanically, Panzer and Star Fox are probably better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Noam and I actually got around to playing a tiny bit more. Well, not a tiny bit. We actually played quite a bit more Beyond Two Souls.
Right.
After a several-month hiatus, Noam was like, "Yeah, let's actually play this."
Okay.
And I'm like, convincing success.
Really?
Well, it's just taken a while. I didn't bring it up every now and then. I was like, we should really play Beyond. And she's like, So I think we're right at the end of that game. And some of the narrative stuff does get a bit more interesting, but because of the way they cut about, it's like it does it in ways that make like 80% of the first 80% of the game not really relevant, because the stuff that's interesting is like right at the end, and because of the out of time sequencing of the narrative, you can like it sort of like suddenly goes, a spoiler alert, I suppose. It's like, hey, Jodie can see that this guy's family has died before they died, or before he knew that, and was like, and then they die, and he gets told, and he gets messed up for weeks, and there's a couple of sequences where you're like going, how are you doing? And he's still messed up. And then turns out that the entire game then happens. And then right at the end, you figure out that he's trying to contact the dead in the world, and the process of doing so is hurting them. And he goes mental, and makes his thing explode that could destroy the world or something. And all of that plays out like pretty much in sequence like that towards the end of the game. I do wonder if the narrative would be better had they just played it through chronologically. Like, instead of skipping about, just go through it like a normal story.
Right.
Yeah. Because
I mean, that works sometimes for some stories, but...
Yeah, sure. I mean, in a way, the problem is there are a lot of little cuts. Like, a lot of sequences are quite short, and then it will cut elsewhere in time, and then cut back, and you'll be like, oh, so that's who that guy is, and that's why he's chasing her, and that's why this is happening, and you know, sometimes those sort of like, oh, okay, this is why it's happening, sort of is kind of nice, but it's not nice enough to warrant that structure. It's like, because the actual sort of narrative beats are like really short when you start to really thinking about it. It's like, this sort of happens, and then that bit's done, right, move on. This bit happened, and then you're done with it, move on. It's like, you could cut to the end and you wouldn't really have to care much about the past stuff, like because of the way it's structured. It's like, I don't know.
That does seem like kind of a major flaw.
Yeah, it's like I so sort of wanted to like it in places, but then whenever you think of it on the whole, it's like, this isn't structured that well. It's like, it feels like a story that someone's had. It would be a great idea or we could have a storyline about this, and we could have a storyline about this, and they've just managed it all in rather than having one coherent storyline. Even though it's based on one character.
Ugh. You get that kind of mishmash feel.
Yeah. It doesn't feel coherent. It doesn't feel consistent. At times, it almost doesn't feel like one game.
What do you think is going to happen with these guys? Do you think they'll go on...
Who, Quantic Dream? Yeah, I'm sure they'll do just fine. Yeah. You know, technology-wise, there are some moments in this which are just, you know, unbelievably impressive. There are certain effects and certain shots in the game that look really great. And it's like, even when they're just rendering Jodie, that's some of the best stuff in the game. Like, the menu screen just has a close-up of Ellen Page's face, like, taking up half the screen. And it's like, it's amazingly detailed. It's like, so, like, how some of the tech they're using is great.
Yeah, but if they don't marry it to, like, some decent...
Yeah. This wasn't a good example. I think Heavy Rain is a good example of what you can do.
Right.
A lot of people sort of say, it's flawed, but, you know, I enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was pretty good. And a good example of how you could steer it. This is not how you steer it. It's like, I don't know. The illusion of choice, it is an illusion, because I don't think it affects the story in any way, any choices you have. It just always affects how a scene plays out, maybe. And I don't know, why do they have you doing such mundane things? It's like, there's a scene where you're supposed to be on a date, but it makes you go through the action of cleaning up your apartment and then cooking food and potentially ballsing up the food. And it's like, I don't know, this isn't an interesting segment.
That sounds really boring.
Yeah, that whole bit was really
preparing
crap.
for a date.
Like, and then the date was super awkward, and yet somehow still resulted in them nearly getting it on. And it's like, I don't understand what's going on here. None of this feels either engaging or remotely realistic of, like, people talking to each other. Bah humbug. But when it gets good, when the action gets going, it's actually kind of fun. Like, when the crazy shit is happening, like when you're in an underwater. I don't know what nation it's supposed to be. Let's go with Chinese. Like an underwater Chinese base investigating some trying to replicate the technology that talks to the other world. There's like, and you get tortured for a bit, and some guy gets like blinded or something. It's like shit's going batshit crazy. The game's pretty good. It does action quite well, but the writing's just guff.
Oh dear. I mean, a lot of games have crappy writing, but I mean, they're not hanging the whole game
this
on
game
it.
hangs on it, completely.
Which is real shame.
What else have I been doing? Oh, I played the one other thing I should probably mention is I played through the entirety of a little indie game called Tiny and Big in Grandpa's Leftovers.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, like, maybe in Germany or wherever this game was made, like,
Wherever.
I think it was Germany, that like maybe Tiny and Big are some characters that they're trying to make a continual thing out of, but the rest of the world isn't aware of, or
I don't know about that.
or maybe the company just wanted to make them a thing or something.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Or maybe it's just ironically meant to look like they are.
Yeah, maybe. But it's like it's a little indie game. It's all sort of cartoony. It's done in an art style that reminded me a lot like of old Rugrats or Are Real Monsters, sort of squiggly line art sort of look to it, which is kind of cool because you don't see that very often. It's essentially a platformer, but it's sort of a puzzle platformer where the idea is to just essentially progress through the level, if it by any means you can. But its mechanics are sort of unique in that you get presented with an environment and your main tool is a cutting laser that you can use to make one clean cut across the length of an object. And then you have a grappling hook and some rockets in order to be able to push that object around once you've cut it free.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea being that in order to, like, perhaps you make some steps for yourself in order to be able to climb up this thing. Like, you'll carve it in half and then pull half of it down and then you can stand on it. And it's so in that respect, it's actually kind of unique how it works. It's like, so the opening area makes it all look very promising. It's like you get this big sort of like circular area, and around the edges of it, you can sort of see in the distance these sparkling objects, and you have to try and figure out how to climb up what looked like sheer rock faces at first, in order to get to those objects. And there's a few secrets there and stuff. And the first area of the game is kind of interesting because you're sort of figuring out how you could potentially do these things with the environment, and that's kind of cool. It's not something. I think it's a sort of problem solving that takes a while to get your head around, and it's because it is quite new. I don't know. I'm not sure I've ever played something that works in quite the same way.
Sounds cool.
And it's got a nice style to it. Like, the soundtrack is kind of cool. I'm trying to think like how to describe it. It's sort of like, for some reason I want to think like, I don't know, a bit Mexican to it or something. But then it's sort of like, smooth rock in places, and there's some stuff that, well, only us are going to understand this, that are very reminiscent of a certain John Barlow. And it's,
oh, really? What, in musical style?
Yeah, sort of like, I don't know. It's not like hard indie or any places, but it's got like sort of, I don't know, certain tones and certain vocals and certain meanderings, I suppose, that remind me of some Barlowisms. But so I think the soundtrack's neat. It's kind of cool. I'm still, if I think of a way of like something similar I can compare it to, then I'll let you know. But until then, trust me on it.
Okay.
Where it sort of then falls apart is everything after that first area. It's like the whole sort of, it doesn't really introduce new mechanics as the game goes on, which is like sort of disappointing because that's how like, a lot of puzzle games kind of work. It's like get them used to one thing so they can figure it out, and then add some more stuff so you can solve some more complicated problems. But then the game sort of tries to go more like funneling you towards a certain objective, like make the levels get bigger, and so in order to get there, there's like more of a defined route in order to get there.
Right, yeah.
Except at the very start of the second level, I had to look up where the fuck to go. because it's just like there's plenty of things around me that I could cut, but none of them seem to lead to anything. And it turns out there's like a tiny little, like there's a room full of like what look like blocked up holes, except one of them isn't blocked up, except you can't really see it because it's pitch black. And it's like, you're supposed to go down there, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And it's like, from that moment on, my opinion of the game dropped and never recovered. Because it's just, for all the neat ideas they have, it feels like they don't really ever use them like well enough. Like the first level sets such a high standard of like just exploration and dicking about in this world in order to find things, that then you get put into this linear thing.
Yeah, it's a bit too constricted.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as good. And it's like there are secrets to be found. Don't get me wrong. Like there may be some panels that you can cut through, and there's stuff behind, and then if you can get to that location, you may find like a little puzzle in order to get another bit of music or something, because music's are collectibles, which is great. Like they're playing to their strengths there. It's like if you have a good soundtrack, you want to find the other tunes in the game.
Definitely, yeah, it's an incentive.
So that's a good pickup. And then those can be kind of interesting, but you're sort of at the mercy of physics, and it's like, so sometimes you could do something and the physics will go one way, and sometimes you'll try to do it again and it will just go completely wrong, and the object you're trying to drop from the ceiling will fall down a big hole, so then you can't use it, and then you're like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And the answer is you push the reset button.
Really?
And you do that sequence again.
Yeah, do it.
It's kind of encouraged, sort of. It's like, yeah, if you get stuck, just press O and you'll go back to your last checkpoint. I don't know why they picked O.
As in, oh shit.
Yeah, and sometimes those checkpoints are too far apart. Like the game doesn't do timed checkpoints; it does them like when you reach a certain point, but only does it the first time you reach that point. So you can't even game the system to like quick save you something before you try something. Like, so if you're trying to go off the beaten path, chances are you might not get a checkpoint because you're doing something that's not on the main route. You're trying to get to a secret. So if you fuck it up, then you just get put back to where you are, and you've got to try and do your whole climbing maneuver again, which can be really annoying.
That does sound irritating.
And it also tries to do like sort of boss encounters. So you play as Tiny, and Big has stolen the pants, which give him like special powers, like being able to throw rocks at you and stuff. So so when they throw rocks at you, you either get like crushed by them and die, or you get out of the way of them, or you can cut them in midair and hope that the pieces don't land on you, which is like, that's a lot of random right there.
Does that work most of the time, or?
Most of the time, you're better off just trying to avoid the things rather than cutting them. Yeah. Because when you cut them, there's no guarantee that the pieces are going to split off them in a way that's not going to hurt you. But it does lead to, when it does work, it can be like pretty awesome, because like something will be flying right towards you. You'll get a last second cut right through the middle of it, and the two splits will just zing past you, and you're like, okay, that was cool. That was like, that was a neat moment using what your game is made of. Cool. And there's a couple of places where that's forced upon you to do, and it's those are kind of cool. But on the whole, any sort of encounter with Big is just kind of, well, cut him off wherever he's standing and he'll fly away. It's like, just keep doing that. It's like, and that's all the game has to throw at you, really. It's like towards the end there are some put the pants in the hole type puzzles, but and it forces you to use the environment to like make that a possibility, so you can move the pants to the hole. But it's fortunately not very long. Like, I finished it in 4 hours, although 1 hour of that was spent entirely in that first area.
Really?
Yeah, because that's where I had the most fun.
The fun part, yeah,
finding trying to work out how to get to places and figuring out the mechanics, and then I figured them out, and it got boring.
That was got longer and linear.
Yeah, but I played through it nonetheless. Yeah, I did my normal thing of like, God damn it, I've got to get through this. So I don't know. It's worth a look if you can. Like I got it in a humble bundle, so it's like it's worth a look, like for just the curiosity of the mechanics, because they are kind of interesting, but it's not ultimately a particularly great execution.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of Rob style ranting this week, but
naturally.
But I'm done.
Is that it? That's your section? Okay. Cool. Zach, what have you been playing?
Well, there's only two things to talk about this time, and one of them's not really anything to talk about, as it turns out.
There's two things to talk about, but one of them's not anything to talk about.
Yep. Because I played a bunch of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon again, finished it again, and then maybe this will be the time when I commit to the save and actually try and grind out the super long term end of game stuff.
You didn't just go for that last time?
No.
So when you say commit to the save, you have to like delete.
Well, yeah, there's only one save slot.
Yeah.
Because it's not meant to. It's just like Pokemon. There's never more than one save slot.
Oh, that's so dumb. It's like in Pokemon, I don't know. It's always just felt like, maybe in like the GBC and the old Game Boy versions, yeah, one save slot probably makes sense for technological reasons.
Yeah.
It's like nowadays, there's no reason for that. Come on. It's like all it is a reason for multiple people to buy multiple DSs and multiple copies of the game.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course,
It's like,
So
fuck you
that,
bastards.
so that children, the brothers and sisters, can't share.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. So they have
Evil.
to buy.
Also, is your no, okay, they're just pulses. It's like, is your 3DS on with the blue lights on?
Yes, it is on. When
does-
the blue light's on.
Does pulsing just mean it's on standby?
The pulsing means it's a Nintendo console, because that's what they all do.
The Wii, I don't know, I suppose the Wii U does pulse now, like when it has a notification, the gamepad's home button lights up.
Yep.
But it doesn't light up the entire drive bay like the Wii.
No, it doesn't flicker in your eyes if you're unfortunately sleeping on my floor.
And then the only other thing, really, to talk about is I actually finally got round to attempting to start to play Witcher 2. After
Yeah,
I had
really?
it installed for like an entire month.
Yeah, come on, tell me, I'm interested in this.
The first thing that I need to know, because I can't remember, is did Dan actually play this?
Yeah, I played a bit of it.
Like,
get
how
that
much is
far.
a bit, though?
It was ages ago. My PC couldn't quite. It wasn't very well optimized, as far as I could tell. Like, didn't run that well. for me.
It
Anyway.
was known as being a bit of a...
Well, the other
Oh.
important question on that front, I guess, is did you play it before they did the enhanced edition where they tried to patch it and fix it
Probably.
and put a tutorial in? Among other
Yeah,
things.
I remember
Wow.
being quite confused.
Because like everyone, I remember when that game came out, everyone reviewed it saying like because the first level's like called Trial by Fire or something, and it is because you don't know what the fuck's going on and it's super hard.
Okay, that's not what. I don't think that might have been talking about Witcher 1, possibly.
Oh, maybe.
But I seem to remember Witcher 2 also didn't really have any kind of actual tutorial. Because now it does, and it's sort of, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe I say it's sort of clear that it is a tutorial that they've added because it's just a separate place. Like you just, it's sort of, they couch it in the sort of storytelling aspect of the way the rest of the game is. It's not really narrated, but like the text of it is as if someone was writing down the tale of what was happening.
Oh, weird.
So the tutorial is like, here's a little side story that happened just before all this other shit.
I see.
Where he goes to an island that mysteriously has a arena fighting tournament where you learn how to fight.
So is that how the majority of the narrative is told, through these like text written bits, or does it go like vocal and?
Well, I mean, the characters in the story talk about what the fuck's going on.
Okay.
But if you want the actual sort of more expansive backstory of it,
Oh, right. If you want the world building lore.
sort of, to some extent, it's sort of basically the same as like Mass Effect's Codex, really.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like
right.
it recaps what happened, but with a more sort of
Detailed description.
a more sort of story-like description, where it tells you like here's the tale of how this guy found this secret passage or whatever the fuck.
I wonder if some of that's lifted from the book. Or
Well,
something.
that's what I was thinking, because it's,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it obviously has some elements of a sort of book quality to it. To the
Yeah, well, it's all
text.
based on books, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But so I tried to play. Well, and the other thing about the tutorial, that this tutorial that they added, is that it has the thing at the end where it's like, here's an endless fight. How far you get into this fight will determine what your recommended difficulty is.
Maybe I do remember this. Yeah, maybe I
Okay.
did have the enhanced edition.
Yeah, but so I tried. You get to this, you do the whole tutorial, and it's like it's fine, I guess. It still doesn't really tell you everything about the game. It's still not a particularly great tutorial overall.
Hmm.
But so you get to the end, and you get to the final infinite fight, and it's like defeat as many enemies as you can. And I was like, okay, first 3 enemies, they're just dudes. That's easy. Kill them, kill that guy, kill that guy, kill that guy. But then, so it's like a wizard spawns, and I'm like, well, obviously I want to take him out because he's a ranged guy and I'm a melee guy, so obviously I want to concentrate on this wizard. So I turn to look at the wizard. I'm just about to hit him, and then just like a random monster runs up behind me and one-shots me. And I'm like, okay then.
Okay.
But apparently that's normal difficulty.
Yeah.
Surprise attack murdering you one shot from behind makes you normal difficulty.
Yeah, from what I remember, there just seems to be like you have to get to a point where you have a routine, like set yourself up.
Yeah, well, it seems like from what I've seen that a lot of it is about. It's weird.
It's like it requires discipline.
Well, you have to do. The sort of what I think is a problem with it is the idea of like the preparation, where you can like meditate and then drink potions and shit that give you buffs or whatever.
Mm.
But that's sort of it's the classic like JRPG problem of like you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
So you have to go in there and die and then be like, okay, this time I can drink the correct potions to counteract what's about to happen.
Yeah. I suppose can you not see what you're about to face from afar and then make some decisions?
Well, I haven't really got far enough into the game to know whether it's going to be set up that kind of way to allow you to sort of predict what you're about to.
You're just being thrown into fights, and
yeah, because I mean, the bit that I've actually played is what probably counted as the original tutorial of the game, which is like the prologue, basically.
Well, maybe that's the trial by fire I'm referring to.
I don't remember it ever saying trial by fire, so unless you pulled that up somewhere.
Yeah, maybe that's just what everyone called it, even if it's not the game name, but
possibly
or level name.
So I played through like this whole prologue section, and it's it maybe was meant to be a tutorial itself, but it's still like not fucking easy, even on normal difficulty. And I haven't got into how this whole combat system works, and I have the feeling from some things that I read people talking about it that like it's like there's a difficulty spike right at the start before you put any levels into like the skill tree and stuff.
Mm.
Like as soon as you start actually speccing a character and having skills to do things in a more like precise way, like you're actually trying to build a character to do a thing in a specific way, then it becomes easier. But like right at the start, when it's just generic and you haven't leveled up at all, it's actually quite difficult because there's just you can only do the generic things.
Yeah.
You haven't developed your technique for dealing with these situations, and it's just throwing you right into this.
And there's no way to develop your technique until you get through them.
Yeah, so it seems like there's going to be that kind of difficulty spike right at the start.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this whole prologue bit is obviously linear, because I'm not sure how much open worldness there is to it, because obviously I haven't actually got to it yet, but it seems like there might be some amount.
Yeah, I think there is. Or at least there's enough branches to make it sort of feel open enough.
Yeah. But then, so the combat system, I also saw some people complaining about how it had changed since Witcher 1. But, I mean, from what I've seen of the combat system so far, it's like I'm hoping for Witcher 3 they just basically nick Batman combat. And it's really dumb to say that because everyone fucking nicks the Batman combat, and sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's bad when it's not Batman because no one else has managed to pull it off fully yet. But it's like this game feels like that's almost what they wanted to do but didn't at the time. And would this have been before that Batman game? Probably.
Witcher 2, though.
Yeah, Witcher 2 might have been around the same time as Arkham Asylum. It's quite a while ago, isn't it, Witcher 2?
Yeah. But it's also like...
Wichita.
So it's sort of trying to do a combat system that is like a very simplified bit. You only have 2 attacks, basically, is the first thing. Like a light attack and a heavy attack. And you attack whatever you're looking at, so you swing the camera around to attack different enemies. So it's not like the Batman system, so you can't like chain it. It's not basically it's not automatic targeting, which is actually one of the first things that really fucks you up when you're trying to learn how to play Witcher 2, because actually the thing that fucked me up is there's a lock-on button, where you're like, you lock onto an enemy, so you always target that enemy. And after a few times playing through the same fight and dying repeatedly, I realised you don't actually want to use the lock-on button ever.
Right.
Because it actually completely fucks you up with your, like... Because you actually want to be able to swing the camera to, like, whoever's nearest or whatever and just attack them, and then as they stumble back, swing onto another guy and attack them. Because it's not automatic. And if you're locked onto a guy, then you're always attacking towards that guy regardless of where he is.
Oh, right.
So you might not be in range, and you might be diving through another enemy who's in front of him or something. So it's like, you don't actually want to use the lock-on at all. You just want to use the camera-facing lock-on, I suppose it is.
Right. Whoever's in...
The
most
center
central.
of the screen, yeah. And then obviously in a sort of similar problem to that's to do with how you fight, is like you have these two attacks, the light and heavy, and I haven't really noticed it yet, but I saw people talking about it, that it's not just light and heavy, it also depends on like what direction the enemy is relative to you causes different attack animations. So at the point where you don't know that, it's just like sometimes you'll just get locked into an animation that's a bit too long, or it goes in the wrong direction and you'll get hit. So it's like people have been suggesting that you actually sort of have to learn, like, never use the backwards left attack because that one's really bad.
Oh, right.
It's like, that seems a bit complicated, but I'm not sure whether that's just people complaining too much, like they're being a bit picky.
Well, like,
you'll find out though.
Bit of a Dark Souls thinking coming into play.
But then the problem that I've been having to do with positioning is that you have your block, and you don't have a shield, you just block with your sword, I guess. Because he doesn't use a sword, doesn't use a shield, I suppose. So he just holds his sword up. But it's like, the problem I have with it is it's a super directional block, so it only blocks things that are quite in front of you. So any attacks from the side or behind, you'll get hit, which is, that's fine in theory. But the trouble is, like, when you're holding the block button, you can't rotate. It just locks you in whatever direction you're facing.
I see.
So you have to, like, unblock, run in a little circle to reorient yourself to wherever the next enemy's coming from, and then reblock.
So what kind of pace does this all happen?
It's, I don't know, it's sort of... Well, I haven't really got to see how it works when there's large amounts of enemies or more complicated enemies, because at the start it's just like other dudes with swords, and sometimes there's like 5 or 6 of them. And then
maybe that's as big as they get. Like,
maybe, I don't know, because you're trying to maneuver so that there's no one behind you, obviously, which is the first thing. So you can like roll and run around and like an idiot as they all shuffle up to you really slowly, as they always do. And then try and pick them off and like hit the weak ones first, and then deal with the other guys later or whatever. Yeah. So it's not. It doesn't seem too bad. It's just this awkward control scheme to get around, and that's only with the sword. Because then, in theory, you have like other stuff you can do, like magical attacks and traps that you put on the floor. Yeah.
The traps, apparently, from what I remember people talking about, like the traps are super useful.
Well, it's another problem with like having to prepare, because it's like you can try and lay a trap in the middle of the combat, but if you get hit, that'll fuck you up, of course, because you're exposing yourself. And it's sort of the same for some of the magic, where like certain types of magic take a second or two to fire out. Okay. I mean, there's the easy like lightning shot where you just like and you shoot someone, and that's fine. And then the other problem with that system is the switching magic is incredibly awkward. It's like a radial menu. You hold down the button and it pops up a thing and time slows down while you're in here, and then you go over to the radial menu, and then you go to the different type of magic, and then you unrelease, and then you hit the magic button, and it's like...
It still takes time.
Yeah, that's just like really awkward. I think I might reconfigure the controls, because I'm playing it with the controller, which is another thing to talk about, because you can play it with the mouse and keyboard or the controller.
But then the controller should be okay, because Enhanced Edition was the one that actually came out on console, right?
Yeah.
So the controller seems to work okay, and I think I prefer playing it that way, because when I tried it with the keyboard, it seemed like even more difficult.
Right.
But the thing about the keyboard is you can just like hit the number keys to change to your different types of magic.
Right.
So it's like that part is much easier. Yeah. So I might reconfigure the controls. So instead of having to go to the radial menu to switch the magic, I might just bind because there's 5 different kinds of magic, so I might just bind whichever 1 or 2 that I think I'm going to use the most to, like, maybe the lock-on button. Get rid of that. put the actual useful thing in there instead.
Yeah,
Can you
maybe
use the keyboard and the gamepad at the same time if you're standing there? You know.
Well, that
you
was
know,
the thing
like-
I was thinking about, because I'm not sure whether you can, and I might have to try that, because you can't. What I need, this is the actual thing, which is an incredibly precise nitpick about it, and it's only because of the Advanced Edition, and it's like it's something they've forgotten to do basically when they patched the Advanced Edition. Is in your inventory menu, you can use the left and right bumpers to page through the different like groups of items, so it's like weapons and armor and whatever. So you can page through those, and it shows you the little item list. But then next to that page system, there's 4 little icons that let you sort your inventory by different conditions, like weight or whatever, weight or value. So if you need to get rid of something heavy so you can free up your encumbrance, you need to sort it by weight and then get rid of the heavy shit. But unfortunately, because they forgot to do it, there's no way using the controller to access those 4 buttons.
Oh, really?
Which really sucks. It's just like, well, that's incredibly unhelpful. And so then I thought, well, maybe I can just use the mouse. But the trouble with that is they haven't let you do that because, well, they have, sort of. Because while you're using the controller, the mouse totally still works, the cursor's just invisible.
Oh, great.
So you can jiggle the mouse over the screen until you see the icons highlighting, and then click on them.
Surely there must be a way of getting to those. That sounds like such an oversight.
Well, I mean, I tried to Google it to see if that was the case, and I could only find like one thread where someone mentioned it, and it was like, no, we don't know how to do this either.
Oh, balls.
So it's like, well, that's great. Very helpful.
Wonder what it's like on the consoles then. Do those buttons just not appear? Or
Well,
are they there but inaccessible?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if this advanced version is the same as the console one, then those buttons would exist, and then it's just like you can't use them.
Weird.
And there's also no actual explanation what those buttons are. I just had to work it out by clicking on them and then seeing how it changed the inventory sort of thing. It's like, oh, I guess that's a picture of a weight. I guess this weird symbol means alphabetical.
So, yeah, this all backs up what I've heard about this game before, is that it's actually quite mechanically sound, if hard, but made somewhat needlessly inaccessible.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the bits and pieces around it seem like it's going to be a problem. I hear that, like, originally there wasn't any way to store shit in your inventory, so you always had to work within the limits of your inventory. But apparently in the Advanced Edition they added some kind of storage.
Yeah, right.
I haven't actually seen that yet, so I don't know. And I'm already over encumbered after the prologue, naturally. Also because it doesn't really tell you... It has a junk category for literal junk, and, you know, you assume that everything else is going to be important at some point, where it's like, oh, crafting materials, that must be for crafting. So, but then you don't know what to get rid of and what to keep, apart from the junk. And then it doesn't really... Oh, I've just remembered the very important thing that makes mouse and keyboard incredibly annoying compared to controller is when you're looting containers.
Right.
When you're in the controller, actually looting containers in either control scheme is a big pain in the ass, because I'm not sure whether you legitimately can't loot them until you've scanned them.
Right.
Because basically you have your stupid Witcher medallion, and you touch it and it goes well and scans the environment, which is useful for like detecting threats and enemies and hidden shit.
Yeah.
But it also highlights any lootable containers. I'm not sure whether you literally can't access them until you've seen that, or whether it's just like I'm not looking at them correctly to actually be able to access them. Because a lot of the time I just like, why can I not? I can see this enemy has dropped a small bag, which is clearly his loot on the ground, but I can't pick it up. And then you scan it, and it's like, okay, now I can pick it up, apparently.
Weird.
So yeah, then with the controller, you just look at it, it highlights, and then you hit X or whatever, and you lose it, and it just loots everything. But on the mouse and keyboard version, you look at it, you click, it pops up a little box that tells you what's in it, and then you click loot all, which is incredibly inconvenient, because you're like, my mouse cursor is not there, so I'm having to move my mouse to the loot all button every time I'm looting a container.
Oh, I see.
Rather than just one buttoning it.
Yeah, and like it's like when in Guild Wars when you discover the AoE loot.
Yeah,
and you're like, never go back.
Or just the loot all, even in Guild Wars, because you had by default it pops up the little loot window box, and you click on each individual thing. You never had that because I probably told you to turn that off immediately.
No, I'm sure. Like when you ran over an enemy, it would just immediately loot everything as long as you could hold it. Like,
No.
But it would only do it on that enemy you were standing over.
No,
right?
it pops up a little window, the loot window, and then you click on each individual thing.
I must have been doing that for ages.
Yep. I probably did tell you immediately because I turned that off immediately as well. Because why would you not lose all? There's never any reason not to loot all.
Yeah, because you can always do something with crap.
And the same for The Witcher. I mean, even if it over encumbers you, that doesn't, that's the classic thing about encumbrance type inventories is you're always going to want to loot all and then look in your inventory and kick out whatever is the least valuable.
Yeah. Presumably you get to a point where it's like, right, well, I can no longer carry items like this. And
Well, why don't they have things like where you can pick the bits you want from the chest, like in KOTOR or whatever?
Well, I mean, that is theoretically what that mouse version of the interface is, where it shows you the list of what's in there and then you can pick and choose. But 90% of the time, you're just going to hit loot all.
Yeah.
It's like assuming you have space to do it.
Is there a keyboard shortcut? Like, can you just hit A and then loot all?
But I mean, it's a mouse clickable button. Might be like E or something. Also, that's the other problem with the keyboard controls is because you need to you've got your movement, you've got your left mouse button for light attack, right mouse button for heavy attack, but then you need a button for block as well, which you need to be holding down a lot in order to be in the block phase.
Side button on your mouse.
Well, yeah. If you don't have a side button mouse, you're fucked. Because then it's like E. And then you've got like Q for magic and
little finger.
Yeah, it's not easy on the keyboard. The controller makes it more accessible to hit the right buttons. So yeah, it's just like quite awkward and quite difficult. And the other trouble with it is sometimes I feel like sometimes I just get hit from things that are out of hit range. It's like that guy's swing didn't go anywhere near me, and it just murdered me in one shot. Or like I should have blocked that, but apparently that angle was just outside the block zone.
Yeah, that it looks worse than it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I probably should continue a bit past the prologue.
Yeah. Get to like it's like is it like the Final Fantasy 13 problem? It's like keep going till it gets good.
Yeah, possibly. And the other thing that I found. One more thing that I found weird about it is like, well, two more things technically, is like the writing of the text and the sound effects. They use some hella generic sound effects.
No, really.
Whereas like, when you're drinking your potions before the battle, it uses the goddamn potion drinking sound effect that was used in fucking Theme Hospital for when the patients are drinking stuff in the pharmacy. It's that same fucking sound effect.
Oh wow!
It's like, how old is that sound effect?
Maybe they thought they could get away with it because it's that old.
It's not even a very good sound effect for drinking noise. It's like incredibly sort of cartoony drinking noise, I suppose you'd call it. And then the other weird thing that I thought was odd about the writing is this is clearly not. I mean, it's clearly like I guess you'd call it an M-rated game. I don't know what its actual rating was, but there's fucking boobs almost immediately.
Oh yeah, that's known.
Yeah, and you
fucking boobs almost immediately.
There's no holding back on the swearing either, which is pretty funny when the first guy you're rolling around with is like the king, and he's like, "What the fuck do we want?" Which is pretty funny.
It seems really sort of weirdly out of place, doesn't it, in fantasy worlds, like swearing sometimes.
And for the king to be doing it also. Although he is like literally in combat with you, so he's not like a pansy ass king. He's like a hardcore king.
He's a fighter king.
But then, so they literally say fuck quite a lot, or not quite a lot. I mean, several times. But then, for some reason, they also seem to have the classic style like fake swear word.
Oh, really?
Where so sometimes it's like fuck, and sometimes it's like they for some reason their fake swear word is plow, where it's like what plow those guys. I'm like, why? You already had fuck. That was fine.
Yeah.
But no, we have to have plow.
Maybe it's Polish.
Well, I guess. I mean, it could be some weird translation.
Plow those.
But there doesn't seem to be any reason to not just. They already have shit and fuck, and it's like, why did you have to come up with this other swear word that sometimes they use?
Well, plow me.
Yep. Plow the flowers.
Plow the plowing flowers.
Exactly. It's really weird. So yeah, that's that, I guess. Maybe I'll play some more.
That's cool that you're trying. Just for
also, it runs okay if you turn the. There's one option which is clearly an advanced edition option where it's just like super sampling. Of course,
okay.
Fucks it up real good. But everything else I have on high, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Just for completeness, it's like Arkham Asylum actually came out in 2009, and Witcher 2 was 2011.
Yeah.
About the same time as Arkham City.
So they actually failed at ripping it off then.
They had 2 years to rip it off, yeah.
So hopefully Witcher 3 will solve that problem.
Well, it looks like there's some gameplay footage of Witcher 3 from Gamescom. I need to check it to see if they've sold it, but it didn't look too hopeful.
Well, I seem to remember the E3 demo where he's fighting those dudes in the forest.
Yeah.
That looks kind of more fluid, at least.
Yeah, definitely. It's like everything looks much more immediate, like and no faffing about, like.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the world is probably more open from my understanding of how those games work, but I'm not so sure.
Probably.
I don't really know enough to make a comment. It looks like I think that they're going for a different feel in Witcher 3 for what they have done before.
Probably.
Like make it a bit more actiony, I think, than RPG.
So yeah, that was that. Awkward.
No, interesting to see if you like keep up with it, what you make of it. It's not one of Witcher is just a series that for some reason has never appealed to me. I don't know.
Seems like quite an investment. If even Zach is struggling to like get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not like Demon Souls where that's like half the point is that it's stupid, hard to get into.
Well,
is it?
Maybe it is.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
it's a challenge for the PC Master Race as well.
I think the whole it's because it's in Dark Souls. The combat is built around that entire thing. It's all about animation priority and blocking and parrying and doing the right thing at the right time. Whereas in this, it feels like it should be more fluid than it is. It's just like, I'd like to just be able to jump from guy to guy and be like, stab, 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 but you can't. You have to wait for them to hit you, and then they go into a stun animation, and then you attack them. And it's just not very complicated about it.
Maybe it is later on.
Maybe. I mean, supposedly one of the first things you should unlock, regardless of how else you're going to spec your character, is the ability to like actually do counters, basically. So when someone attacks you, there's an icon that pops up, and then you hit the button to actually counter it, rather than just blocking and waiting for them to go into a stun animation, which is the old way of countering. So yeah, maybe I'll get further in that. Maybe I'll unencumber myself so I don't have to walk wherever the fuck we're going. Which is pretty funny because the AI, the NPCs I'm with are like, "Are you coming?" all the time. They've got the classic like slightly too short triggers on their sound loops.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're away from them for like 10 seconds, they're like, "Hurry up, you bastard!"
Yeah, that's always funny that stuff.
Cool. Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks well.
It was at the time. It was considered one of the best looking games. Like,
I mean, it looks pretty good. The only places I've been are like ruined castle and dark forest. Right. So I haven't really seen.
Yeah. You want to see it when it's in the open, don't you?
Yeah, I want to see like maybe some interesting watery areas and forests and that kind of stuff. That'll be where it will really show off if it's that good.
Awesome.
I remember the early shots. Like, just this is a classic thing for me, but it was one of those games that really sort of lauded in its texture detail in places. It's like the bits of chainmail or something. The detail on that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's that. Did you play anything, Dan? I mean, we're miles over time, but you might as well say something if you've got something to say.
Not really. I carried on trying to do FTL, but I still can't do normal mode with the. Although I did try the NG ship on easy mode last time, and that was like a walkover until the end. I got blown up on the last boss because I screwed it up. Yeah. So maybe I should try the NG ship on normal because I got to the point on normal with the Kestrel where I thought I was doing everything right, but it was more like attrition. It wasn't like one thing went horribly wrong. You know, that you're going along fine and then it all goes to shit on one fight. It was more like
you had the steady decline that you
steady decline. I got to the point where I was taking hull damage and then I was spending all my money on it, and then I got to the point where I had enough defense to just about be okay. Like I had enough shield and defense drone, but I didn't have enough attack to actually get through their shield. You know, so So I just got to the point where
you were just jumping about without actually
doing
improving.
anything.
Well, I had to because I couldn't. I couldn't get any more money because I couldn't win the fight, so I would jump or whatever. But sometimes I think, well, if I wait long enough, eventually chance will mean I'll get through their shield. But what would happen is I'd get through, I'd bomb their shield or whatever, and then I'd get a few shots off, and then they'd manage to repair it, and then I was stuffed again. And then occasionally, occasionally my defense drone would get blown up, and then I'd take a hit, and it was like, well, this is just pointless. I could just wait. If I just wait 15 minutes here, I'll just get blown up. So it just got to a total stalemate where I just couldn't go any further, basically.
Yeah, there are games like that.
Yeah, there's like it's a very precise point in like somewhere in the mid game where it's like you there's a certain point where if you start spending too much money repairing, then you don't have enough money for upgrades, and then because you haven't upgraded, you can't do anything from then onwards.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And that's why you just like jump to the boss and try and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got totally... I thought that was the best I'd done on normal mode as well, and I just got into a corner where there was just... I didn't think I was making bad decisions or anything, or screwing up, but it just... I just got stuck. So I don't know really how to do that. I mean,
that's really just like... The more you learn where you just start to... Once you learn enough, you have... In that kind of situation, you're just looking for whatever tactic you can make out of what you've got. Yeah. And, like, but not... Because that's the thing where it's just, like, the teleporter runs or whatever. If you're going main teleporter, in some ways, going main teleporter is incredibly powerful because you don't have to worry about their shields and and you don't have to worry about your guns. But then, there'll be a point in a teleporter run where you'll come across one of those AI drones, and then you can't do shit about that.
Can't teleport those.
So it's like once you learn enough about the game to have multiple different techniques that you can theoretically like shift your tactics into, that's the only way you can get out of those situations, and even then, not always. There's still the element of luck. I mean, nowadays the stores are much more forgiving. So
they're more frequent.
Well, they have multiple pages. I mean, what the fuck?
Right. I don't know how anyone managed to get through the normal mode in the early days then. I mean, it's just slightly too hard, I think, that normal mode. And the easy mode might be a bit too easy. I don't know.
Yeah. The classic problem.
I found myself, like, away from home at one point this week with my iPad and some time to kill. And it's like, I found myself like looking at the games list on the iPad of what things I had on it, going, I don't want to play any of this shit. Like, the easiest option I had was perhaps to go into Bejeweled, and I contemplated Carcassonne, which is a slippery slope for me.
Right,
but I ended up playing Flight Control Rocket, which is a okay little game, but I won't really talk about it. It's like, it's flight control, but in space. But I was like, the thought did cross my mind. It's like, maybe I should pick up the iPad version of FTL.
It'd be interesting to see how that plays, in the really stressful times with the touch controls. I guess you can just pause at any time, right, and do pretty much anything in pause.
Yeah, presumably there's just a pause button in the corner, like there always is on iOS games.
Although sometimes it's quite cool to be able to like precisely time a secondary weapon shot to just after your primary has hit the shields or whatever and wipe them out.
Yeah,
but not.
Yeah, presumably because that'd just be like, the big buttons where you would normally click or use a keyboard to it, you just tap, wouldn't you?
I guess.
Still kind of more difficult to do with touchscreen, I imagine.
Depends how the selection works. Like, presumably you have to pick someone's icon to select them and then you tap where you want them to go instead of doing the other selection mechanics. But
yeah,
you might still be able to drag select if you're lucky.
So anyway, I don't really know what to do about that. I probably have a much more fun time on easy mode, but then I don't know.
Well, I mean, you got to the boss on easy mode, and I mean, that should be
I beat the boss on easy mode in the Kestrel one time, but
the important thing is getting to the boss and then learning what the fuck the boss actually does, so that you.
Well,
getting through the game
I mean,
you
I was
still
doing
have to
okay.
be like setting yourself up for the boss the whole time, basically.
Yeah, I hadn't realised that. I mean, you guys were kind of teaching me that. I mean, I tried with when this NG ship run on easy mode, I tried the teleporter tactic. But of course, I hadn't used the teleporter before, so I was dumb enough to blow up the ship with like my 2 guys still on it.
No.
So I lost.
That's always bad. Or like when the worst is when you're using the teleporter technique and the enemy jumps out.
Right.
Because it's like, fuck, my guys.
Right, you just lose your guys. Oh, I hadn't realised that. Yeah. Oh, God.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Because I was trying your tactic of like kill the guy in the little weapon station on the enemy boss, and that worked quite well for the first run. And then I totally screwed. It was quite late, and I tried to jump around to a repair station, but I hadn't realised there were too many jumps compared to how long until the guy would blow up the base.
Oh,
Yeah,
so he
the
just
base
succeeded.
So then I just had to jump back in and die, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, the whole last boss is all about countering its super weapons. I mean, obviously the normal weapons, you need to have your anti-weapon tactic for like either teleporters or bombs, or kill those little dudes in the room so you can disable the weapons permanently. But then it's all about the super weapons,
Yeah.
the drone swarm and the pulse lasers.
Fucking drone swarm.
I don't know what do you do against either of those?
The drone swarm is sort of a dual. You have to do 2 things, because the first thing is obviously you want the defense drone to take out their boarding drone, because the boarding drone is a giant pain in the ass if that gets on your ship.
Yeah.
And then for the drone swarm, it's just a matter of like you pretty much have to have taken out their weapons by that point, so that the drones can't get through your shields and have enough evasion, so that the drones miss a lot. Not really all that much you can do, but it's still something that you
evasion seems the most useful thing there.
Yeah, you still need to be able to think about it.
So is it possible to take out their weapons before the drone swarm hits, or whatever?
Well, you can at least get rid of the missiles, which is always the critical one.
Yeah.
Because then your defense drone isn't worrying about that, it's only worrying about the boarding drone.
Right. That makes sense.
And then obviously you don't need to worry about the beam laser.
Provided your shield's up. Yeah.
While your shields are up. And I think the timing on like the drone swarm the first time doesn't coincide with the beam laser. So you can normally get away with it for that long.
I don't know. I had the the ion thing for the engine ship, and then I managed to get a combat Mark II, and that was pretty much killed everything up to the final boss.
But as long as you have the Uber Iron on the engine ship, then it doesn't even matter how much other damage you have, as long as you have more than one, because you'll always win. It just might take some time. Well, because the iron, that rapid-firing iron thing that the enemy ship starts with is always guaranteed to take out the enemy shields.
That's right.
So as long as you're doing at least one point of normal damage, you'll always win eventually.
Yeah.
It might just take a while, so you have to be able to survive.
Yeah, that works out better, because I was naturally putting points into shields and defense drones and stuff on the Kestrel run, and it wasn't working out so well because I didn't have enough offense. But with the engine ship, it doesn't matter, because you only need to be, like you say, you only need to be hitting them with a single point because the shields are down, right?
Yeah.
That works. So then you just have to watch you don't run out of drone parts because you're using a defense drone and a combat drone every fight.
So then all you need is that drone recovery arm and you're set.
Yeah, I didn't find one of those. That would have been good. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to do next, because I've unlocked another ship, so I might just keep unlocking ships and to keep playing the easy mode if I'm going to play FTL again, because it's just, I don't know. Or do you think I should have a go doing a normal run with the NG ship or something?
Yeah, normal run with NG is probably good, and then depending on, I don't actually know what the unlock order is nowadays, because I did it the old way. So, depending on what ships you get, you might find one of those might be quite easy as well.
I got the stealth ship in a quest run just now.
Find the stealth ship. Stealth ship is literally the impossible one.
Oh, right. Is it? Okay, fair enough.
Well, the stealth ship's setup is it doesn't have any shields. So the only thing you can do is cloak, and you only have the level 1 cloak, so that only lasts 5 seconds.
Oh, that's shit.
So it's literally impossible, and it has shit guns as well, so it's pretty much literally impossible to do anything with that.
Right. Fair enough.
It's incredibly difficult.
Well, it has no shield. You can't even put shields on it.
Well, you can install the shield system, but because you're buying the shield system, it costs like 150 scrap to even start putting shields on it.
So is your favourite then like Mantis because you like the boarding? So is there a Mantis ship that has a teleporter?
Well, the Mantis ship is like specifically designed for boarding, which makes the boarding runs much easier. Because it does, I mean, well, you start with Mantis for a start, so that's your boarding party.
Yeah.
They'll just murder the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
And then if you unlock, the funniest one is if you unlock the B version of the Mantis ship, I think this is the only ship where this is the case, but on the B version of the Mantis ship, it has a 4-slot teleporter room.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
So you just send 4 people over there and it's practically unstoppable.
So what's your tactic with boarders? Do you try and suffocate them as best you can before you fight them? Or
no, I mean,
you don't bother.
The only tactic with the boarding party is to do it with, you basically, if you don't have Mantis, then it's just a matter of you just have to...
Oh no, he means defensively.
Oh, what, you mean, what, really?
When you're suffocating them, then you're playing, when you're defending.
Oh, well, yeah, enemy boarders.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you just vent them as much as possible and then fight them in the mid-bay.
Right. I was pleased with the NG ship because the medbay's right next to the cockpit, so you don't get that irritating situation where 2 of the boarders go straight for the cockpit.
Yeah, and it also means you can just vent the entire rest of the ship and put everyone in the medbay.
Yeah,
medbay plus cockpit.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of doors on the NG ship too. It has 2 sets of double airlocks, so it vents super quick around the edges.
Yeah.
The only slight problem with the NG ship regarding the boarding and venting is that the oxygen room only has 1 door that vents, so that vents quite slowly, so that can be dangerous if someone's in there trying to kill it. And the drone control system is right on that far corner
on the other
of the
side,
ship.
Right? So it's hard to repair, and you need the drones.
Yeah, and you need your drones up.
Yeah. Well, the Kestrel has like 3 sets of double doors, doesn't it? Does it? Yeah,
the Kestrel is the sort of problem with the Kestrel for that is like the middle section doesn't have anything in it, but it's also big. Yeah, it has like 2 4-square rooms, so it takes a long time to empty.
To vent. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I was with the Kestrel. I was having quite a lot of success with the what's it called? The defensive anti-personnel drone. That's the one.
Right.
The dude who went around my ship killing them.
Yeah.
That seemed to work because that lasted between the fights as well. Of course, you didn't need to replace it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because internal drones you don't have to relaunch every time.
Huh.
Yeah, so
like the repair drone or whatever.
Yeah. So I bought one of those for the NG run, but I needed every time there were boarders, I needed my defense drone, and that was like 6. I already had 6 power in the system because I had a 4 power for the combat drone.
Yeah. I don't normally use those anti-personnel ones. I just manage with venting and punching.
Yeah.
Also, because normally those anti-personnel drones, it's a lot of money, really, for what they do.
That's true. I don't know.
I still haven't got the achievement for the boarding drone, where it's like use the boarding drone to kill 5 enemy people in one attack. That's like you'd have to set it up so precisely because you'd have to pre-damage them for the boarding drone to even survive long enough to do that.
Well, maybe you could do that if you teleported your guys over and then beat them down and then teleported them back before you killed them.
Drop a bomb in the same room as one of your guys are in.
Yeah,
okay. Friendly fire.
That's why there's a heal bomb.
No.
I've never used that.
Yeah, have you ever bombed your own ship? Do you do that? Or?
I have very occasionally bombed my own ship. It's like not often that you have a reason to do it.
My bombs always miss anyway.
I wonder if you're bombing your own ship, whether you can evade it. Like if the evasion counts for your own weapons.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah, that would really suck.
So that's FDL.
So yeah, FDL. Still.
And that's the end of this podcast.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for
Rob
joining us.
Looks like he might fall asleep at any moment, and we haven't eaten pizza yet. Which might be part of the reason.
My stomach's making weird noises. It's like I'll try to keep under control.
Well, you guys. It's time for you guys to get peached.
Yep.
It's good food.
So thanks for joining us for this ridiculously long Saladcast. I still think I'm justified in getting pissy when it goes over 2.25 hours. There you go.
We talked about so much awesome for the first hour.
Okay, fair enough. So look forward
Yeah, fuck the
to
rest of this podcast.
It's fucking a bit about video games.
Yeah, fuck the plot.
Okay, yeah.
Plow.
Tune in next time for more
Yeah.
random plow. So, that's like saying more
Go down
random
the
fuck,
field.
is it?
Start
Yeah,
plowing.
I think it's more on the fuck than shit.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I suppose you don't say shit, those guys.
A plow a lot of random coming your way next time.
Can you say, like, you shit things up? I suppose you could, like, but you don't shit them up, do you? I'm going to shit them up.
Shit the shitting shitters.
When this baby hits 88 miles an hour, you're going to see some serious plow.
Oh man, maybe that's the next Back to the Future film. It's like a time traveling plow.
The plow's on the back of the DeLorean and it descends. You know,
You get what? You get like
Cuts into the
Flaming
field.
furrows.
yeah, flaming furrows.
Or maybe you create some kind of like, if you travel at 88 miles an hour around the circumference of a field, do you create some sort of time vortex and your crops grow real fast?
That'd be awesome.
It's a time plow.
Time plow. You've ruined this ending.
Right,
yeah.
Cheers,
stop.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Catch us next time on the Saladcast. Goodbye.
Plow off.